What is good? It's Wednesday. We have a stacked panel tonight. So I'm not going to do the slow roll intros. We have to get into the show. We have got Alex White Close Green. What's up, Alex?
Not much. You?
I'm good. I'm really good. Lady B, what's up?
I'm doing great, and I'm just kind of like Mad Kids, Little Miss Anonymous, stole my word, which is meowdy.
That's your new word, meowdy?
No, it's one of my words I say to my cats, and that's funny. Okay. And I've never seen it before, so that's cool.
Well, Nadia, welcome back.
I'm glad to be back. It's been a while since I've been on a Wednesday show.
It's been too long. Hi.
Yes.
What's going on?
Hi. Hello.
You were looking fantastic.
Party of three.
well, I know, Nadia, that you're a big horror fan, so I hope over the course today we'll talk a little bit about my horror script that's doing well right now. So,
okay.
So yeah.
Awesome.
Speaking of round things, and we got Gooch here, my bun brother. What's up, Gooch?
What's up?
Hi,
bun brother.
Bun brother. So we like to have burgers and make them touch buns. It's
come on. Tell the people.
The rest is a secret. We've got Moxie Dame. What's up, Mox? We got you for about an hour tonight.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming on. Good to see you.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Nadia, surprise visitor from down under. Thank you for coming on.
Howdy, Zach. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
I bet you want to talk even more about Skeleton Crew.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Kamran Pasha, last but certainly not least, welcome back. Glad to have you back. You have been a very busy man.
No, but it's always great to come back on this channel, and I always insist that he has the loveliest ladies, and we're really doing well today on the panel. So this is great.
We did, and speaking of lovely people, Angry Badger, last but not least, what's up, dude?
Thank you. Did you move yourself so you could be next to Moxie, which is an excellent choice? I would have done the same. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. Thank you for having me, Zach. Appreciate the invite.
I thought about going on top of Moxie, but I thought, nope. Let's have
You should be in the middle.
Well, nah. I mean, Cameron could be in the middle. We'll do this. How about that? There you go. Cameron's under Moxie.
Middle bottom is good. Let's leave me here. I don't want to do Hollywood Square.
I'm on top of Gooch. Oh, wait.
Uh-oh.
I'm on top of Zach.
You already took a mighty tumble, Nadia. Be careful.
Yeah.
I did.
That's true.
Gooch is rough.
How's your arm? It looks, I can't even see it.
Oh, I'm fine. Completely
look at you.
healed. Sprain is done.
Nice.
Yes.
That's
Wolverine.
Yeah.
She's Wolverine.
Yeah.
How was your
yes,
leg?
I am.
Do you want to show us your road rash?
Nope. Switch it right up.
No.
Well, I'll show you. I've got can you see it? I got these two little things here. I got
What's
a
that?
steam burn from I was making tea 2 days ago, and I reached for something, and boom, the steam from the kettle, it just knocked me out. It was hopefully this is permanent.
I have 3 layers of skin missing from my knee right now, and now a sprain. Not sprained, but at least did something to my ankle with my fall today. So yeah.
What happened?
I don't want to talk about it.
Well, not a natural assassin. We all know she's an assassin, So
I'll tell you later, Lady B.
That's true. Yeah, she's the bomb at the party. All right. Chat, who do we got here? We had Moxie Dame was early with the Gooch trade. Thanks, Gooch trade. Appreciate you guys. Jake Martin's here. Ryu is here. Dax and Raka, and Dax, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. I will I'll play you a quick clip. This is one of my favorites. I think Cameron will like this one too. It has an attractive female.
Oh, yep.
And, your favorite dish?
My favorite dish, I like mugs because they're very comfortable in your hand and they hold the hot things that you don't have to touch.
That's a good point.
It's very good.
Solid.
Yes, I like it. What's up, Blair? Rhino the hamster. I don't think I've seen you here. Welcome. Words of fairness. Leon is almost always on this panel. Tonight he is not. I miss you already, Leon. Meow, Little Miss Anonymous is here. Sentient Dildo. Sup, colonizers. Sup, Dildo. Love you. 1,000 men. I guess that's going to be the new target for that Lily hunt. Check out Lily Phillips.
Oh my
1,000
God.
men.
Oh,
100 men.
Yeah. Moving from 100 to
She's
1,000.
she's working on the logistics to make it happen. So keep your DMs open, 1,000 men.
Wow. Yep. Fall of Western Civilization. We're here. Who else? Nah, speaking of Fall of Western Civilization, Lady B, my Valley girl.
Nas's week is next week. Nosferatu coming out.
I know. I'm
Yeah.
really excited. I want to go to the movies.
A few friends have seen it and said it's just absolutely remarkable.
I don't want to
It's
spoil it. No.
I'm just giving you no details.
Okay.
I actually asked for no details, just vibe. That they're like, it's just vibe, but it's remarkable. The vibe is that it's incredibly creepy throughout the entire length of the movie. Like scene by scene just gets creepier and creepier, which is an homage to the original Nosferatu, which I think is one of the top 2 greatest horror movies of all time. I think that and The Exorcist. I mean, you watch Nosferatu, the original today, it scares the living daylights out of you. Max Shrek as Orlok is utterly terrifying.
Unless you watch the SpongeBob episode, then not so terrifying, but yeah.
You guys are getting that next week? It's not released in Australia.
Yeah, we're getting that Christmas Day. Yeah.
I have a video on it. Zach, I'll
Benefits
send
of
it
living in a first world country.
Please. Yep. Gooch and I might go together. That'd be romantic, I think.
Yes. Yes, it would.
Welcome, Jake
You're gonna
Martin.
pull the
Thank you very much
stretch?
for coming to member. What's that?
You're gonna pull the stretch on him.
I don't need to.
Smooth.
We're
Hey.
both men. We can just go right straight to it.
Zach's
You
badges
just
right
share
there.
a
Just
popcorn bucket.
Yeah.
I gotta buy the buns already.
Butter's at the bottom.
I'll bring in the Dune bucket for that one. Maybe. Yeah. Thank you, Jake Martin, for becoming a member. Appreciate you and appreciate this.
Thank you very much for this, for giving me this. And I appreciate my fans also. My wife and my girlfriend. My wife. Yeah, sorry to say. I'm so sorry, my wife.
Yeah.
Busted
Well,
yourself.
like I said, I come from a tradition where you can have 4 wives, and I think that's better than having a wife and a girlfriend. I think you should all be straightforward about it.
Is that me or
Right.
Lots of crackle.
Oh yeah, who is that? Not me, hopefully. Hopefully not. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
What?
I have been having mic issues all night, so yeah. So I'm working on that. So please yell at me if I'm muted or I'm talking and no sound's coming out. Either way. But I've got lots of generous people here. Whoa, Squeaka, 20 gifted memberships. Squeakamos, you're so generous. You're such an important part of this channel, and everyone here. Well, I love you, Gooch. He likes you a lot. He's not quite to the love yet, but he's, you have to gently bring him to that point, and he'll get there. But thank you, Squeaka. And this is Squeaka has her own song, and it is this.
Enough. I am Gandalf, and Gandalf means me.
Gandalf? Not the wandering wizard.
The same.
I'm Gandalf.
I mean, considering what we got with War of Rohirrim, it's pretty. We're looking good with that one. The old school Hobbit is still all right.
I like that. I saw that animated movie as a kid, and it had great songs in it. Like, one of my favorite is the orc song. The Lord of the Lash says, "We don't want to go to war today." That's a great song. It holds up.
Yeah.
I think the whole film holds up. Actually, it's fun. It's a fun watch. Its intention was good. I think this is William Richard 5 memberships. I'm going to give you Dawn's song. He's not here. This is going to get loud. So
Hell yeah.
Here we go.
Not an alpha male. Beta male. Yeah. Beta male. Beta. You a beta male? Beta male. Not an alpha male. Beta. What a shame. Mommy's boy.
Mommy's boy.
That song slaps. I love it.
It does. It does. Yep. Thank you, Will Richards. There you are on the panel.
Yep.
Or not? Or you're Are you in like
Willix a lot lately?
Willix? It's a tough one, It really is. Well, thank you so much, Moxie Dame. 5 memberships. You are in the center square. You definitely don't have to do it, but I very much appreciate that you did. This is okay. This is lore. You guys have to see this. This is Hunter J. We were talking about this backstage. This is this is a legend. This is core to our channel here. This is important. This is him. He tells you about what happened when he was born.
Long story short, I was born as a breech baby, coming out late, legs first. The doctors weren't brilliant and cut the umbilical cord early, and for lack of better words, cord wrapped around my neck like a noose, and lack of better words as well, I was sucked back inside my mother.
That's a medical miracle. Yes. That's yes. Thank you, Moxie. That's how he explains a lot
Thank
of
you.
his mistakes he's made as an adult are based around that incident when he was a baby. So, and that's thank you, Sketch. $10. Merry Christmas. Appreciate you, Sketch. You've also been on the show before. Love having you on. What should I do?
Something Wong.
Oh, this one.
He broke out my window.
Which one?
Bruh.
Bro. Yeah, I hope she was okay. She didn't hurt herself or anything.
Earlier today.
Oh no. Through the screen?
Yep, through the screen. No.
Zax, did you just fall through the screen?
I think he did.
It's all right. Hi,
Well,
Moxie.
welcome everyone to
Hi.
Zax's channel. I don't know what we're doing on here, but it looks like it's going to be a fun night with this lovely people. Alex, what you got going on, buddy?
I think we're talking Skeleton Crew. So
Yeah, I want to hear about
Yeah,
this.
you just read
great.
that, Gooch.
Yeah.
Yeah, pick up where you left off.
So my
One more
question
time.
is this actually entertaining, or is it's 2:30 in the
Wait.
morning, you're drunk, and there's only one chick left at the end of the bar?
I've been watching it sober, so I'm still
Yeah.
liking it.
I've been enjoying it. It's
By
a different
choice,
take.
Moxie?
Yeah.
Or like
Well-
sober by choice, but
Well, there was a plan.
okay.
It's falling into another plan. But yeah, broke that one the other day. Yeah, the show though, it's been enjoyable. Going in knowing it wasn't made for me, it was made for children, helps me, kind of temper any sort of like harsh criticism. But even still, like there isn't really a lot of harsh criticism. Also, reminder, it's for kids. So it's been
I don't know if
enjoyable.
you guys can hear me or not, but if you can, I can't hear anything. My sound is totally gone. You can hear me,
We
okay?
can hear you.
I'm gonna kick myself out, come back in. Gooch is in charge until I get back.
Aw.
Yeah.
This is sort of like Riker. You have the con, right? You're number one. Was he number two? Was he number two? Was he number one or number two? Riker.
Riker was number
Number
two.
one.
Two.
Riker was
Number two.
Number one.
Okay,
Number one.
Picard was number
Sorry.
one.
One.
Well, I mean, he was second
Picard
in
was number
command,
one,
but he was his number one. But he was second.
Oh
in
wait,
command
so
of
he
the
was
ship.
number
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Number one
referred to him as
officer.
number one.
Yeah,
Number one.
exactly.
Yeah.
Number one.
Okay.
Number two, I think, is Data.
Who do you
actually.
work for? Number two. Who do you work for? Yeah.
XXL.
Yeah. Anyway, thoughts on Skeleton Crew? I enjoy it. It is for kids. We reviewed it earlier. And Zax was on there. Yeah, it's like the first few episodes didn't really feel like Star Wars. It was starting to get there, and now it's got that Star Wars feel, especially episode 3, where we got into the pirate part and all that kind of stuff. The acting in episode 4 kind of was flat, and I blame the direction. Some people want to blame the writing, but I think it's actually the direction in that episode. So it's been a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it. It's something different.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, like I saw previews for it, and I'm like, dang, I might actually watch that because it like reminded me of, and I liked this as a kid, so don't laugh at me, of the Ewok adventure.
Mhm.
Like
Not
that was
wrong
good
with
fun. Like it was a good, like it was always on the Disney Channel, and I just, yeah, I'm like, are they getting back to their roots?
Well, I actually love this show because for me, it takes me back to stuff that some of you on this panel are too young to remember, but you may have heard of. Certainly the Sid and Marty Krofft productions of the 70s and the early 80s, right? The Land of the Lost, and there was Simon the Sea Monster kind of thing, right? There was all these, but all of those children's shows that I would watch as a kid, Saturday mornings religiously, all the City Marty Krofft shows were themed like this. They were about children that were swept away on an adventure, often without adult supervision, right? In Land of the Lost, they didn't have their father, and then at a later point it was their uncle, but you had a teenage boy and a younger girl, and then their father, but they're out there running around being chased by like reptilian creatures and dinosaurs and things, and so there was the sea monster show that I loved as a kid, where this kid befriends like the good sea monster who's left his family of bad sea monsters, but nobody else knows. The adults don't know that he's got the sea monster friend, and they go on adventures. And there's that Peanuts element where the adults are somewhat are minimized in its children's point of view. So for me, it's taking me back to that childhood because those shows were specifically designed for children. And I have to say the openings, we can do spoilers. I mean, it's not episode.
Yeah, we're going full spoilers here. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the opening moments of the first episode, the pilot, really touched me because they were the only time I've seen like how we played Star Wars as kids. And these are kids on a planet playing Star Wars. They're in the world of the galaxy, but they know about Jedi and Sith and know the legends. And so they're playing like fake lightsabers with their friends in the playground, like we did, like grabbing a branch and it was our childhood thing. And then as they get swept into a real adventure, it is what children fantasize about. We fantasize about flying a starship and shooting blaster guns, and doing these things. But the fun of the show is, obviously when these kids are put in the situation, they're not good at it. They don't know how to fly a starship. They don't know how to actually shoot blaster cannons. And so the fantasy becomes reality for them, and then they have to learn. And so that really touched me. For me, it brought out my inner child because I don't think I've seen any major Star Wars show or anything else that brings out that childlike going back to our imagination and playing with the toys as we did. I don't think I've seen that, but the writers clearly did that themselves as kids. It's very authentic.
Yeah, I think so.
It's been a while since Star Wars tried to be fun.
It is. There's no lectures. Nothing is at least overt.
Yeah.
There's two moms for one of the kids, but I actually missed that. I was on my phone at the time, and I didn't notice there was two moms.
Yeah, because they're in and out.
Right.
It's a flash scene moment. They're in and out. The one of them even doesn't talk, so you didn't even notice them. Right.
Badger, you are the Star Wars expert on the panel. Why do you think the show works, and what is different about it, or how do you think it works? Let's start there.
I think it works. I think we all had problems when we saw like the suburb set that looked like modern America, and I get why they do that. It's we keep saying it's for kids, and I don't mean that like it's dumb writing, even though some of it's dumb writing. It's just following tropes and situations that if it was in any other situation, they would all have died horrible deaths. But it's like in a kid's show, it takes a different route, and I think Gooch mentioned like Avatar and all that. Airbender Avatar, as far as like the kids learning moral lessons. So that's fine. I think it works completely with what it is. And we find out that these are old Republic vault worlds. It makes sense why he knows about the Jedi and Sith and has all these fun, glamorized memories of them. And yeah, I'm still excited to see where it goes. And it's just, I think it snuck through exactly what I thought. This is like the, not quality level, but circumstance of the Terry Metalis Picard season 3. He snuck right in, got to do something that everyone had discounted, and someone who knew their shit and was a fan actually made something of quality. And I think that's what John Watts and Christopher Ford have done. They snuck right in and made something that doesn't hate the audience and that they themselves have good memories of, and it translates.
So I want to add two things. That one is Terry Metalis and I worked together. I worked with him before he was very famous on Nikita. I was on there for season 4 of Nikita, and he had a writing partner at the time. I don't think they're working together anymore, but he was a great guy, very smart, very young and ambitious. And look where he went to, right? I'm not startled to see how far he went. He was a really nice guy. We hung out a bit when I was filming up in Canada, and so a decent person. And as for this, with regard to what you're saying, it snuck through. I agree, it snuck through. But I also suggest that people like Jon Favreau and others have been pushing for stuff like this, and they're dealing with a very political environment with people, adversaries inside of Lucasfilm that have been pushing against stuff like this. But a lot of those adversaries, through all of their energy, like forged the one ring of power into this stupid acolyte thing, and so they put all their power into that thing, and that just fell right into the volcano, right? And so
I gave Favreau a pass until we found out it was his idea to put Lizzo into the Mandalorian. His idea, no one else's. So yeah,
he's got to survive.
Yeah,
you got to survive in this town. You got to keep the bosses happy, and the pivotal thing is how do you get something good done while you're getting bad notes from people above you? I mean, as a professional writer, you're always getting like, "Hey, we're going to cast this person. You agree, right?" And like, "Yeah, sure, boss. Yeah. Now, how do I make this work, right, and not get fired?"
Nos is giving you a hard time, Cameron, in the chat. That's his style.
It's okay. Yeah. No, I appreciate good-natured ribbing. Bad-natured ribbing is just bad juju. It's all good.
And thank you, ZBR. I did miss you. Your $10 super chat. Thank you very much. I'm afraid to play a clip right now because I don't want anything to break again. So I'm not going to play a clip yet. End of the show, I will get you.
I got got a question for Cameron, because like you know these people, and you have some inside information. Do you think it's the changing of the tide here? Like I always said, the sea of red, and people saying like we've had enough of this shit. Like, do you think that Disney's recognizing that and changing things? Like we saw that with the transgender episode.
Yeah, we talked about that at some point in the episode, that there's a announcement that shocked or startled a lot of people in Hollywood, that there's a Pixar show that is removing a transgender storyline that had been filmed already with an actress, and so that character is no longer identified as transgender. It's just all identification of that was mentioned in voiceover, whatever has been removed, and then they publicly admitted to it. They said this is a conversation that parents should have with children, which is I think a lot of people have been saying on this topic. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely there is a cultural shift happening. I mean, if I may, just last night I had a dinner, sort of Christmas dinner, with a group of friends who are pretty big screenwriters. Some of them have made major shows that and others are just like movie screenwriters. We're just friends. We get together every few months. We got together at the Smokehouse, a restaurant. If anybody knows it, it's up in Burbank, near Disney and near Warner Brothers and all that. And so we were talking about this issue because these are people mostly in their older 50s, some of them 60s, right? But established showrunners, pretty big people, a lot of them much more significant than I am, right? And they were talking about how the directives they're getting in their process now is, essentially this. It's Trump won, let's pull back and give America what it wants. That's pretty much what they said. Most of them are not fans of Mr. Trump, as you can imagine. It's Hollywood, right? But they said pretty much it's like, I think we need to be pulling back to storylines that apparently most Americans want. And it took a few years to convince Hollywood that most Americans maybe want more centrist storytelling and away from some of the politicized storytelling, away from sexualized stuff for children. And one of the interesting comments that one comedy writer made was that he's developing sort of a Will and Grace type comedy that's getting a lot of attention. And the executives were like, you know what? This is good. LGB is good. We don't want any more T stuff right now.
So they're sort of not compatible when it gets down to it.
But that's a whole other conversation. But yeah,
and it's sort of the conversation is but return to interest. We had Will and Grace and Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. We were on the right path. It's time to return to that.
People went with it. Conservatives went with it. Became part of Middle America. Yeah. Nobody really had a problem with Will and Grace, right? And all that stuff. And so that's a conversation that we're going back in some ways to almost sort of 90s values or early 2000 values. And that's the notes they're getting from executives now who are openly saying, look, I'm sorry, guys. I know it's just the way it is. We're going to have to cast white male. We actually had this conversation at lunch today. I was talking to a friend of mine, big producer, and we're talking to this young Native American woman who I'm mentoring on a project. I introduced them together. We had lunch, and we were talking about the fact that the show that we want to develop together has a Native American character, but we're going to have to partner them with a white male because now the executive's like, yeah, I think we need to start bringing white males back.
No more male and pale is stale. That's out the window.
Is that gone?
That's the conversations that I've had in 48 hours. 2 different dinner last night, lunch today. People are openly talking about the directives they're getting from executives at the studios is, yeah, guys, I think we're in a place where we got to maybe roll it back a little bit. Let's calm it down. And before that was sort of hush-hush. Now it's actual notes being given saying, no, I think you need the character to be a white male if you're going to be able to sell this. And tease out. So, okay.
Ooh. 70s Rock fan Raid. Welcome, guys. Glad to see you here. I wanted to ask Moxie, as a parent, or what has it been like for you? And are you more likely to be trusting of media with your daughter now going forward?
It's not on her radar yet, but it is a hopeful thing. It would be nice to go back to more of the vibe of when we were growing up, late 90s, early 2000s. It just felt normal, and a return back to normalcy would be great because it's been off the freaking rails for years now. Cameron, I actually had a question for you, piggybacking off what you just said. As far as what's the reception like from the team members that are getting these notes from higher ups saying we need to roll it back? It's okay to have white males. How are they receiving that?
Can I be honest? It's actually like a sigh of relief. At the dinner last night, a lot of people were like, I can finally do this again. I was like, I don't have to do this because everyone was doing this because they're afraid to be fired. And people are like, oh, you're all woke. It's like, dude, I just don't want to get fired, man. So this character is going to be this identity and that. I don't want to do this stuff. I just want to make it Oh,
Shout out to
that's
Film
crazy.
Threat and Alaning and Chris Gore. That was the original thing we heard, is like, when you separate the crazy wackos that were Me Tooing everyone and putting in their woke partners, a lot of people just didn't want to get fired. They were walking on eggshells. They were going along to get along. That's why the other, when they were forced to choose a sexuality, other went up staggering, because everyone just fucking chose other and keep your head down and try to survive it. And here we are. Now, some would point out, and I had those people taking a stand a little bit earlier, we wouldn't be in the mess we're all in. But that being said, better late than never.
You're not in a position to take a stand. I'm not in a position. You know what? I've taken stands. I was the head writer of the Tron animated series, which you can all watch on Disney Plus now. And I survived 6 months until I took a stand.
Yeah.
24 hours later, I was packing my bags and leaving the Disney lot. You don't take no stands. You look.
No, I'm
real
actually glad you did that. You have a bit of a soul. Thank for Bo DeMeo, who took his stand, and it's the result it was. But at least he has some authenticity, and I'll follow him. Got to take stands, baby, no matter the cost, because the support will come from somewhere. We will support them.
So we heard the news about Coogler, right? That left. He's leaving.
Ryan, or the other
Ryan
guy.
Coogler.
That's a different guy.
That's the other guy.
No, that's you talking about the exec that just left? From Marvel. Yeah, that's a different fellow.
Yeah, well, that guy, he just left because he's finishing up Black Panther and I forget the other film. Announcing he's left. Do you think he's being
Nate
told?
Moore is his name. Nate Moore.
So do you think he's being told that his run is over and they're just publicly saying he's leaving, or do you think he's like leaving because of the changing of the guard?
Everyone gets fired. Nobody leaves. Nobody wants to leave. You got a job, you keep that job.
So he got fired. Yeah.
This entire industry is musical chairs. You lose that chair, the odds of you getting the chair again are 30% at best. Right?
By the way,
at best.
Polly, hi. I'm on with Chris every Monday, so you can just come on Versus. You can disagree with me there, and we can have a fight, and Chris can put his big screen and have fun while you yell at me. We gotta take stands, dude. Sorry. You get fired no matter what.
Folks.
If you don't take a stand, you get fired because all your shows get canceled because we hate them when you don't watch it because you voted with the agenda. So either way, the jobs are going away.
Next time, I'm going to go crash at Badger's couch.
Go ahead, bro.
Taking bets.
I love the
Badger
big talk there until I show up at his door. Dude, I took your advice.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Oh, we can get Paulie on another time. You guys can definitely yell at each other all you want.
He's fine. You can just disagree with me and then say your desire.
Well, Paulie's great. He's a close
Good night,
friend.
Nuss.
I actually hang out at his house all the time, and we
cool, you
do
can sleep on his couch
Friday mornings. Yeah, no, he's got a nice house. I'll definitely crash there. Yeah.
But they have ejected so many of the quality people who are actually creative behind the scenes, like the John Lasseters. They've moved. Well, now he's not gone anymore, but they've shipped out how many people that we've never heard of that are like that. Now, how do you replace those people? Because they've been doing it with, like, do you have any friends who wouldn't mind taking a job? You know, and that's kind of been to check those extra boxes. That's from what I've heard. And how do you replace all those people with people who actually want to put out good stories and are capable of doing that?
You don't replace them. Somebody like Lasseter, they tried to replace him. I mean, these are people with individual talents. Lasseter just happens to be a genius. Right? You know, you just can't reproduce that guy. Feige seemed to be genius for a while, and that kind of petered out, right? And so I discovered maybe he wasn't the genius in that environment. Maybe there are others around him that were a bit of the genius, right? But Lasseter was uniquely a genius, and it was a time, he got called out for hugging people, and people like compared to Harvey, did he really do a terrible crime? And he's back. I mean, just people, the way people Hollywood now they just don't talk about what happened. It was like that whole era of like 2016 to 2020. It's like we just don't talk about it. Everything it was like the wild night at the frat party. We just don't talk about it.
That's the Jennifer Lee one. So it's sort of the case of like pushing someone with talent that had a bunch of talented people that then all got forced out, and now you got to bring those people back at least. The Tumblr hires weren't doing the job.
Right. That's what I'm asking. Like, how many people who we've never heard of, who aren't John Lasseter, has that happened to? And how do you get those people who probably had good ideas too back into it, or replace the people you replace them with?
If they don't have Lasseter's power, it's very hard. Like I said, it's musical chairs. I had dinner a couple of weeks ago with an executive at a studio that I showed a TV series to. He was the exec that bought it, and then he got fired, and he was the smartest guy in the group, right? And then the project stalled. Without him championing, it stalled. And this guy is brilliant. He one day should be running a studio, but it's been a year and he hasn't been able to get a new job. And he's a talented studio executive, right? And after another year, he's going to be out of the game if he doesn't land. That's the game, you know. There's no guarantees in this town at all. That's why it's so frightening. Everyone is constantly. There's not even greed. Everyone's a place just of fear. You're not even motivated by greed. You just want to hold on to what you got. And if you get more than that, that's magical.
Yeah, that's scary. And then how many people even want to come back after that? I know, like, a lot of people that like, I'm just tired of it. I'm tired of the way the industry works. It's like, is that thing. It's like you're only good as your last movie. It's like you're always operating from a place of fear of losing your position, fear of holding on to what you have. It's like, it's very stressful. That's why I really didn't like want to keep continuing on in it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's very draining. And again, as you get older and you see the cycle doesn't get better unless you win the lottery and you are acknowledged as someone inside the inner circle, like a Lasseter. But even Lasseter couldn't hold it. He lost it and he has to regain it, right? So yeah, this is exhausting. It's just exhausting because there's no rhyme or reason or justice to it. It's just whatever happens. Now you have a job, now you don't have a job. And maybe you won't be back in again.
Are they looking for creative people right now, like on the street level? Is that sorry, Alex, you go on.
I guess I had two questions for you. What you're talking about as far as sort of the new refreshing, approach that's being taken. We're hearing a lot about that in video games. What we're hearing is, the original release can't have anything that's going to make anybody mad. But then as soon as we can start pushing DLC, we're going to put it all back in.
Talking about the Mass Effect thing we just heard about?
Mm-hmm.
It's been talked about a bunch of different places. So I guess, is that happening? Are we going to be in a situation where we're going to
like a Trojan horse? Is that we could like
first good temporary or a first good season 1, and then the sequel or season 2 is going to be trash?
I mean, I can't speak to video games. I've written one video game, which is, we should all play it. We're video gamers, which is 50 Cent Blood on the Sand, which is a good game, and I wrote it. And 50 Cent made all the money.
Way.
I made very little money on that game. It sold like 2 million units. I was like, dude, don't I get like, nah, you got little. This is what you got. 50 keeps the rest. Okay, whatever. But so I mean, I'm not deeply in the game world, Brad, but. There were different dynamics, as I discovered in the brief time I was working for Vivendi Universal on that game. And then I can only speak to what I've seen because it's stuff that Badger's been talking about, right? And I guess he's been most spoken with Chris Gore, who's a very nice guy. I've hung out with him at Paulie's place, right? The reality is most people in this town are actually, and just said this on my Patreon today, they're actually quite conservative. They all pretend to be progressive, Che Guevara revolutionaries, but they're all pretty conservative. They're just here to make money, and a lot of them secretly just here to get laid. I mean, that's their real intention, right? And so it's not really some idealistic stuff, but they say all the idealistic stuff to play the player game of surviving, right? In their heart of hearts, they never wanted to do any of this crap. At times, it enraged them to have to do stuff they didn't believe in or let go of good actors because they weren't the right skin tone of the moment. Right? All that stuff. It's very enraging, and people resented it secretly for years, but were afraid to say anything. And now there is this, like I said, there was a sigh of relief at the dinner table last night where people are like, dude, I can finally just hire whoever the hell I want. Nobody wants to go back. It's like Eastern Europe. Like I've been a lot to Eastern Europe, into Romania, Bulgaria, places. Nobody wants communism again. They ain't gonna do that no more. They're like, we're done. We're not going back to that, right? And that's kind of the feeling. I don't think anybody wants this. And the fact that the market showed them that their way out. The market, people didn't want this, and now their bosses won't fire them for pushing a white male, or maybe saying maybe kids don't need to hear about trans stuff and this thing ain't for 6-year-olds or whatever. They won't get fired for it anymore, and they're all breathing a sigh of relief. And there's a little bit of feeling of revenge, like we ain't gonna let those guys back to make us feel uncomfortable again.
Okay, and I guess my next question
bears out.
Yeah, God, from your lips to God.
That's movies and television. I don't know what's happening in video games. There may just be different dynamics. Video games are bigger, interesting.
I can speak more money to video games too. Video games, you're either going to have people super doubling down. You've got the rare few, the Matthew Karches with Saber, the Thomas Mahlers at Moon Studios, which say what you just said, but about video games. Then you've got the other ones who are well fucking aware, the BioWares and stuff. They're pretty captured. We just heard with Mass Effect that they've been told, take all the shit that could be. Sorry, they don't call it woke. They call it inclusive content. and then with the intention to put it back in later as DLC, which that's the direct thing I've heard about. But other ones, they're just going to double down. The Avoweds with the Obsidian Entertainment, you're going to get this messaging and you're going to like it, bigots. So pick it. We're going to have a range. Some people now have permission to course correct. Some people are going to be sneaky and try and hide it. And some people will 100% course correct.
Yeah.
Can I
Part of
ask
that
a
is the
question?
Chinese invasion, but I guess, sorry, go ahead, Cameron.
Well, I mean, Chinese. Why don't you ask about Chinese? I do have a question about who these people are, because about the age range of the people making decisions in video games, compared to the people are making decisions right now.
It's connected to his question, and then it's partly yours.
Okay. So that was actually going to be my next question. Is what I have witnessed in large scale corporate America is what you're saying. The attitude that sort of you're describing in Hollywood is the attitude of everybody over the age of, let's call it, 40.
Yeah, that's fair. And that was last night over 40.
And the the kind of the 33 and under crowd are, we're still putting up red flags. We're still, if it doesn't have at least 2 trans characters, we don't want to be involved in it. Is that your experience as well, or is it just
in Hollywood the power is now in those people's eyes? One of the most disastrous experiences I had was I worked for a showrunner who was 28 years old, and everyone was in their 40s or 50s except that person. This person had zero experience, but was the right variety of things that the network thought it needed for the DEI purposes. And it was the most disastrous experience of my entire career. Aside from the fact that they were incompetent, they were also plugging all kinds of bizarro agendas that none of us were like, dude, what does this have to do with the show we're making? Well, what is this, right? But we don't want to get fired. It's like, all right, boss, you want me to write this speech, on trans rights and this thing that has nothing to do with it? Sure, boss, I guess I'm going to write it. Otherwise, can't pay my rent tomorrow. You got it, right? So, but that person self-destructed by making the wrong tweet and got fired from the show, right? And their career is essentially over. And a lot of people were waiting with knives ready to get that person out. Because all of the older people who were pushed aside so that those younger people who served agendas were put into place, those older people resented them. And now the industry has largely collapsed since the strikes of the past year, right? So there's nobody working except the old folks. There's nobody around. And those old folks ain't letting those kids back in ever. One of the things we said at dinner last night was, if showrunners are saying to me, I don't want to write shows anymore except with my closest old buddy friends, because
you're going to gatekeep.
Exactly. Because they said it. One of the showrunners said, let's say I have a 5-person staff. That's 5 people that can send me to HR for some dumb joke that I thought was cool in the 80s.
It's a tactic they use, yes.
Yeah, and that I worked on shows where you had 25-year-old assistants doing that, HRing everyone they could to advance themselves, right? And so they're like, no, I'm just going to bring in my 42-year-old friend here, this 65-year-old writer who's worked on 15 shows, and they're all got old. They're all able to make dumb humor from the 80s and 90s, and we're all good with it. And we all know the limits are. We're not harassing each other, but a stupid comment isn't worthy of destroying each other's lives. And that's going to be our writing staff. That was actually the conversation last night. They ain't going to hire these kids. That generation is done. They're not going to even hire them. They don't want them around because they're afraid of being Me Too'd or being sent to HR for something stupid and their careers being destroyed because they watched that happen. So those kids lock themselves out. There's going to be a mass generational thing where basically for the next several years, old folks are going to run everything, and they're going to carefully look for like youngsters, like 20-year-old kids who have the same mindset and values that they can trust to bring in. But the millennials are out. The millennials have knocked themselves out of the Hollywood game.
So any new blood that comes in is going to have to be properly vetted and trained, and they're going to have to be open-minded to conform to the tried and
to
true
1980s humor, to 1980s dumb behavior. Yes.
And speaking of 1980s, Alex, that was sort of the answer to your question, as Yuri Bezmenov told us about it. We had a whole fucking couple of generations subverted by basically cultural Marxism, whether it's the CCP or it's one of those you don't need a formal conspiracy where interests align. Bunch of people very happy to have our culture destroyed, all of our heroes destroyed, and have us all pissed off about this and paying attention to gender identity instead of where all the money's going. Now, it's part of a whole fourth turning thing of civilization. We're very ready to have heroes and morality returned and normalcy. And that's what everyone has permission to do. And what should have been gate kept a long time ago, all those motherfuckers with blue hair at the Oregon universities that we said, oh, don't worry, they're going to get into the real world. It's going to hit. Yeah, we all listened to them.
So Badger, this is very funny that you just said that, because I'm mentoring a young woman who's a young screenwriter, right, who has talented, and I've already had one dinner, and I'm having another dinner with her on Friday night, and I've already told her, look, you've got talent, but this is the advice I'm going to give you. One is she works right now as the head of DEI at a university. I'm like, first of all, you're going to lose that job soon. Right, DEI is done, and even if you want to work in Hollywood, I would actually kind of remove that from your resume. They'll be like, oh, DEI executive director at blah 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 university. This person's gonna send me to HR. Nope, you ain't gonna. I was like, take it off your resume. And number two, I was like, she's got pink hair because everyone in the DEI office of her university has pink or other colored hair, and not for aesthetic reasons, but as a sort of badge of rebellion. And I was like, you want a job right now? It's time to look like Lois Lane from 1950s, right? You got to go back, watch that old Superman show, look like that, and they will hire you.
Man, I can't believe
back in the day when
I'm about to say this, because it's 7 years ago. The thought would have been horrifying to me, but I'm actually looking forward to a decade of boomer slop.
Yep.
Moxie, jump in there.
Well, I was thinking back in my day when I first started joining the workforce, everyone had, well, the places I worked, they had a dress code. You had to have natural hair color. Like they had these things in place, and it was just normal to be expected to do that. And now, yes, professionalism. Imagine that. And now it's like, no, you have to accept me for what I am and who I am and what I look like and all the piercings in my face and all the things. It's like, can we get back to professionalism and having a standard?
You can do all that stuff at the club after the office.
After hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to overcorrect, by the way. I'm not trying to turn everything into a Puritan. I know everyone can go too far. Because
Hollywood won't overcorrect. It won't.
Well, some will try.
So they're not going to overcorrect anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm the one saying bring back cocaine in the 80s and 90s mentality, but everyone knows they put fluoride in the water. It makes frogs gay, sometimes trans. It's all right, though.
There you go. Leon's got that. I want to say thank you to Harley Dave, 1999. Thank you very much, dude. That's very generous. Shut it all down. Dark City style. Great flick. Dark City.
Dark City's great.
Classic. Hi, Nadia.
Hi.
How are you?
I didn't want to interrupt. I'm good.
You have worked in Hollywood, so would you feel more likely to go back to working in that industry again? No?
Fuck no. No.
Why?
No.
Why?
The instability, and I am so out of touch that I would need to catch up, and I'm not willing to put in that much work. And besides, when I was working, I preferred to work more shop settings where I was sculpting, processing the prosthetics and stuff, not so much being on set. I actually despised being on set the whole time. So if I could find a shop job, I would totally be down, but I would never go back on sets.
Well, you could be back on crew, right? I mean, crew stuff. I mean, the good thing is crew never got on board with any of this crap. Right, crew are all working class, normal people who are just trying to feed their families. They never got on board with any of this crap, right? And
as long as it's in a shop, but not actually on set for production. I am not. No, I speak my mind too much. But a lot of the times when I was working, even if I wasn't maybe as talented as individuals, I was hired because I was from the Midwest. I had one time somebody tell me, he's like, well, we know Midwesterners are hardworking individuals, so we know that you're going to actually put like 110% as opposed to somebody who might be from the West Coast who's local there. So a lot of the times I got my jobs because of my work ethic. So I think we lost Zax.
I'm here.
Okay.
Probably. Cameron, you were going to ask a question to Badger about video games, I think.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was going to ask him. So I mean, the little rant I gave is that currently, for the next decade at least, it's going to be old folks, and I say old folks is people in my. It's going to be Generation X. Boomers are aging out and vanishing, right? And Generation X, which is my generation, and the generation of the 80s movies and Schwarzenegger and all that stuff, right? And we were the latchkey kids, and we were survivors, and we were kind of like cynical realists, right? And now we're getting our power back after being taken over by the generation after us, which was
that's not going to happen with video games,
the
unfortunately.
video games is more millennials.
Only because every single studio that we know and love, from BioWare, Rocksteady, Rockstar, all of them, all the OGs have left. And the few remaining people that were part of the original are completely ideologically captured, with very few exception. And so it's going to take a decade before we see any sort of move. Now, indies and triple and like AA games, that's probably where it's going to switch to. And then, but video games take so much longer to make that you're going to see it takes longer to course correct. Movies, you guys can course correct much quicker.
And also, you're making so much money in video games. Hollywood has
so much money. Yes. So
this garbage starts when you're flush with cash. Like
the fact that we've seen
cash, this garbage started. When you're broke,
we've seen several lose a lot of fucking money lately. That is going to force them to uphold, but it still takes a lot more time than you guys. So,
the other interesting
eventually
thing
it
about
will,
video
but
games
long term
that I find to be super interesting is a lot of the DEI stuff in video games is getting pushed from China. And the idea is essentially, get a foothold in, make the American or the French company, in the case of Ubisoft, put a bunch of horrible DEI shit into their game, tank the stock price, and then buy the company back up for nothing, essentially. And then
that's
you
the
own the
Guillemot
company.
Brothers one, yeah.
And then you
Tencent.
own the company and all of those titles. I'm just curious, is that something that we're seeing in Hollywood, or did we blow up Hollywood with good old fashioned American communism? Or
Bye, Jana.
Bye, Jana. So, I actually know a little bit about China because I actually worked there. I developed a TV show there that actually ended up broadcasting on their YouTube, which is called Ikiyi, right? And it was a spy show. I'd worked on the show Nikita with Terrence Hollis, right? And then right after that, they'd some producers had actually asked me to come to Beijing and develop a spy show there, and like 800 million people watched it. I mean, that's the level of viewership they have in China, right? And again, I didn't make money that reflected 800 million views, but my Chinese partners did. In any event, so I got to work in Beijing, and I got to know that system really well because our scripts were all censored and read, and the government was involved in everything. And I was like, oh, this is how this thing works. Okay. But my opinion is, and I've written a lot about this in my Patreon over the last couple of years, is that China blew its wad inside of traditional Hollywood because Hollywood cares about one thing: money. And China was dangling money, but not actually executing, not actually letting projects happen. And so eventually, when people felt they were jerked around long enough, they began to become angry. So now China is largely persona non grata within Hollywood because people felt that they were taken for a ride. In many ways, they're similar to the difference is this. China people now, there is the sense that this was an insidious, like these people were jerking us around for some insidious reason. Whereas, the other source of money that's often wasting your time, and I've dealt with it a lot, is in Middle Eastern oil douchebags. I've dealt with them being Muslim guy. I deal with a lot of Middle Eastern oil douchebags, right? And they're truly the scum of the earth, right? It's like God's will to give the oil to the worst possible pieces of garbage in the world. And
then they come mentioned investment firms too, by the way, like BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, all that shit.
Those are insidious, and that's a whole other kind of insidious.
100%.
The Saudi Gulf types, they ain't insidious. They're just scumbags and they're morons, right? And they never get around to paying you because it's very simple. It's not like a China thing where they're trying to jerk you around to try to get you to agree to terms that are unfavorable to you by wasting your time long enough so you get desperate. That's an insidious game, right? And then these BlackRocks, whatever, have another insidious game. We'll give you the money, but we have these DEI things, and that come with it. That's insidious. With these oil scumbags, it's just like, I just want to meet, Lindsay Lohan, and I want to have sex with her. Can you arrange this? If you arrange this, I will finance your movie. They arrange
the accent.
Yeah, so I'm mimicking various scumbags. If you arrange this, if I can have sex with movie star, I will give you $100 million. It's nothing.
Say what you want about Harvey, but he apparently made that all happen. At least he went
and
through
then
all his
they
work, allegedly.
They will get that. They will have sex with the starlet. They'll meet Tom Cruise at the party, and then they got what they wanted, which is, oh, I have met Tom Cruise, and then they literally just forget about you. They forget.
He gives me a cake with his coconut.
And they just forget about you because they got what they wanted. So those are the three levels of scumbaggery. The DEI guys, the BlackRock guys are still around. The Saudi guys will always be there playing that game. And then but the Chinese blew their moment, and I don't think they're going to get it back.
No. Look at you, Big Ship.
They're not going to take over basketball anymore for sure. Thank you, Big Ship. 10 Zach Norris, appreciate you very much, Ship. I do have a clip for you, but it's going to stay It's going to stay in the vault until you want me to pull it out. And
Ooh,
then I'll,
phrasing.
Phrasing.
Whip it out.
I'm going to pull all of
Take
it.
you
This
to
is
HR.
this is the night when I should have taken Tim's advice, but here's his advice for me as a bad interview and podcaster, and I failed you all, but I'll learn from Tim.
Like Zach's is he doesn't treat me nice. Zach's, you're not a good podcaster. You don't know to conduct interviews at all. You're a 45-year-old man, and I pray for your family. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean,
the greatest revenge is to be able to laugh at criticism of yourself publicly. That's the greatest revenge.
That's it. That's it. If you can say it, I'm going to play it.
He gets revenge all the time. Then
It's hard to hear from the critics sometimes.
It is. Oh, Bemos, thank you. 5 more. Thank you, Bemos. I gifted 5 more memberships. Thank you very much. I'm hopefully they're working.
remember memberships, Gooch?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah,
What a concept.
Are they going out though? I don't know.
If you see people like the name lit up, then it should apply. Otherwise, you might got hit.
Oh no.
Don't know. It seems like mine might have.
There's been a YouTube bug where people are not getting the memberships when people donate, and then they get refunded.
Yeah.
So we're all a little paranoid.
They don't like.
You hoity-toities with your memberships. Wah, wah.
Yeah. Just fall down, you.
Yeah,
Just fall down. Yeah.
Well,
It's
I
not
mean, I
remembering
appreciate you guys.
people.
I don't know. But
Got the
this
ABF
might,
aid, sorry.
if anything can fix this glitch.
Well, I'm packing up my game and I'ma head out west where real women come equipped with scripts and fake breasts. Find a nest in the hills, chill like Flint, buy an old drop top, find spots with
Yeah, see, that's coming back. See, that kind of filmmaking is coming back.
Oh, thank the Lord.
Heteronormativity.
I told
Nothing
you.
wrong with that.
You all laughed at me when I said Coyote Ugly.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. That was a successful movie for a reason, and it's coming back.
Cameron, the only thing that shocks us is that it took so long. That it took a sweeping election to finally give everyone. You know what I'm saying? That after the failures of like 2018-19, certainly into 2020, that we were just like, okay, this is fucking ridiculous. That it lasted that. I think that's
And
it hit
and
every
I'll tell you why.
franchise.
I can get a little political just for a second without. And these are just objective analysis of Hollywood politics. Things accelerated with Mr. Trump's first victory, where everyone felt like they had to go to an extreme progressive, level to fight him, right, and to fight the.
We call that TDS rampancy, but yeah, I know what you're saying.
Hollywood reacted.
Yeah.
So they double, triple down on all kinds of extreme progressive narratives and stuff and all that, and and intensified the sort of fake Me Too stuff because it was all fake. I think those who Lady B and others not have worked there know Me Too was just used to cover up the actual scumbags, right? Like Harvey took a fall so that others much worse than him remain hidden and do their thing, whatever. But that continued. But what happened was their goal was to get Trump out and return to normal. The problem was Biden comes in and we're in the middle of this lockdowns pandemic thing, and then they don't know how to get out of it. Then they get trapped. So it was the pandemic that trapped them because they used that. I mean, they used that, setting aside arguments about the pandemic and its origins and all that, blah, blah, blah. Saying all that aside, it was certainly used by Hollywood, whatever, as we got to get this Trump guy out. He made us all sick. And then they got trapped with the narrative of, well, we can't leave our houses. We can't how are we going to make a show? I mean, then they got trapped.
Boom.
Exactly. They got trapped in this, and then they couldn't get out. And then they're like, they didn't know what to do because they had bumbled into a world for which there was no plan. And then during the next 4 years, the world's economy collapsed, Hollywood collapsed. So every plan they had went up in smoke. And so it was Trump's victory that actually let them go, can we just go back to what was kind of working? It was 4 years of
Which is what
bumbling.
we're all asking. Yeah.
And that's what it is. And that's what it is. They bumbled themselves into a place where they didn't know how to get out of the hole.
That's about the best explanation I think we're all going to get.
I think so. Thank you, Bemos.
You're talking
Sorry.
billions of dollars.
I hate to be a party pooper, but I got to run. But thank you for having me on. It's good to see you all again.
Thank you.
Party
Moxie,
pooper.
what's going on with you?
Pooper.
Where can people find you? What's up?
What is going on with me? Moxie Dame on YouTube. I am Surly Durly on Twitter. Tomorrow night is That Crime of the Month with Words of Paradise. We're doing the Taylor Shabusiness case. So the beheaded lover trial.
It's a fun show.
So yeah, it's a fun show. Check it out.
Thank you,
Tomorrow
Moxie.
night.
Bye, Moxie.
Good night, guys.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Uh-oh.
By the way, our good friend Paulie, who's in the chat, the reason we're having beeping is my phone. I don't know how to shut it off. He's messaging me the poster, the one sheet for our show for Friday, where we have a lot of very attractive Latina actresses, and he's just sending me one sheet upon one sheet of incredibly stunning Latina actresses. And I'm like, oh my god, I'm going to be on the panel with these ladies? Are you kidding me? So yes, those are the beeps.
The best kind of distractions. Yeah.
I was like, Jesus. I was like, oh, really? I was like, they're going to be in the panel? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the membership thing is being weird, but I'm gonna hopefully I just hope that you guys get reimbursed if they don't go through, because that's frustrating if it doesn't.
Yeah.
Hey Joe.
So hey, did anybody read my script? I sent it to Zach. Did anybody read it? Nobody read it.
I read it. I'm about third way through. Alex read it yet.
Okay. So the big thing that I'm very proud to say is last week I was in New York City because I was at the New York City Horror Film Festival, which is actually a pretty prestigious festival. It's around for a couple of decades. And a horror script that I'd written that is set during the Iraq War in 2003 had gotten to finalists. They said to me, hey, you're finalist if you want to come. I was like, yeah, sure, And I went and I won Best Unproduced Feature with that script. So that's good. And I sent it to Zach. So a couple of people read it, but at some point I'd love to talk about it because
yes, congratulations.
Thank you. There's a picture.
I'm not through to the actual when the horror part kicks in. They are just in Babylon right now. They're getting there, so that's where I'm at.
Okay, so you're basically Act 1. I know where you are.
Yeah. Alex has read it though. He's read it through. Good. Do you have any questions or comments, Alex?
If you don't like it, just pretend you did. Because we screenwriters can't take criticism. We kind of go crazy. He's not there. He's vanished.
I loved it then.
That's it, but that's all I need to hear. Then we can go on to the next topic.
I've only ever read one other script, so it's a different kind of read. It's a different way to read something. So it's interesting to get through it for me.
Oh, we're on Cameron's script. Sorry, my mom called me.
Oh, did you read it?
Lady yes, I did actually read it. Yeah.
So, Lady B, no scripts.
No scripts. Oh yeah. Oh, I know scripts. Yeah. It was. I thought it was really good. I don't like if I was like imagining the film you wanted to make. It definitely could be like a low budget horror movie, probably about 90 minutes long. I my only complaint is I think there was maybe a couple things is I'm not really sure they would have said that back in 2003, but I thought it was a fun read.
Yeah. We said I'm struck in 2000. I'm sure we would have said it, but no. But thank you. And it's the central concept of it is based on a story that was told to me. And Zach's, we've done mystical stuff. We actually done it with Lady B.
Yeah, lots.
Yeah.
And so this central concept is a legend that is from both Islamic and Jewish sources in the Middle East, that there are in the ruins of ancient Babylon there are two fallen angels who are buried in a well by God as punishment for rebelling. And that if they were ever unleashed, it would be the end of the world, like Armageddon kind of thing. And that's an ancient legend that's thousands of years old. It has stories in the Islamic tradition, has stories in the Jewish tradition. I don't know that there are any stories in the Christian tradition, but they're definitely in those two. And what happened is in 2003, and this is historical, during the onset of the Iraq War, after the toppling of Saddam, we actually U.S. built a military base on top of the ruins of Babylon, like bulldozed half the UNESCO historical site of Babylon, right? And they built a base there. People are like, why are you doing this?
Oh, so that actually happened?
That's
true. Yeah. There's actually there's stuff in Hillary Clinton's emails on WikiLeaks about looking for a portal or something like that.
This is it. This is exactly
it. Because when I was reading that, I thought there's no way I couldn't buy that they would actually do that, but it actually happened.
It actually happened because even UNESCO's like, what are you doing? There's a desert all around this site. You can build your base outside of these ancient ruins rather than destroying them. They're part of the Bible. This is part of history. But we did that. And my Sufi spiritual teacher at the time said, oh, they're doing it on purpose. They're looking for the Well of Babylon. I was like, what the hell is the Well of Babylon? I said, that's the well where these fallen angels are buried. And if the idea is sort of Raiders of the Lost Ark, that they're looking for a portal into the supernatural realm and to use its energies, maybe weaponize it in some way. And I was like, well, that's a movie. What would happen if American soldiers, fighting Iraqi insurgents in those ruins, stumble across this well and supernatural events start happening? And then maybe they have to join forces with their enemy, the Iraqis, and to join forces against this thing, which is a greater threat to all humanity. And that was sort of it was a theme that I guess at least this film festival really liked, and I've been trying to get it made. I wrote it last year and gave it to my agents, and they loved it. They're like, "Oh, we can sell this. For once, you've given us something that isn't like some Middle Eastern Islamic epic from the 9th century, right? And like we can actually sell this thing, right?" And then I gave them that script on September 30th of last year. 1 week later is October 7th. And suddenly everyone, oh, no, we can't do anything about war in the Middle East. It's too sensitive, right? And so the script stalled. And so I'm hoping through these festivals, whatever, that I can get it back up again. But that's the origin of it.
Gotcha. Now,
All right,
I'm not an expert. Go ahead.
The Gooch is leaving us. The Gooch is
I'll have all the next 2.5 weeks to be on and do this. But I do have to get up early. So I thank you, brother. Guys, have a great stream. I'll catch you guys later.
Congrats on 25K or whatever you're at now today. In 1 year, dude.
Actually, I haven't grown anything yet. This is the month, this and part of January. Just everything just kind of stagnant for me for whatever reason.
When you're Gucci, you measure it by the hour. That's it.
I thought it's by the inches, but that's just my opinion.
That's by the foot. It's by the foot, really. If you want to be, you know.
Love you, bro.
Yes, and stop being a clown and enjoy the. Everyone, take care.
Thanks, Gooch.
Stay Gucci.
Badger, you're following him home.
I have to make sure he gets home safe because old ladies try to assault him and hug his thighs. Thank you. Appreciate it. It's a very
Thanks, Badger.
So we're losing you too? We're losing you too?
Debate. Yeah, Cameron, I'm sorry. 3 streams a day. I have to go do human things, unfortunately. Pleasure streaming with you guys. Hope to do it again sometime.
Maybe,
Appreciate you, Badger.
Maybe.
All right, guys. Bye.
And the next out the door is Niat.
I do apologize. Yeah,
Yeah, you didn't say nothing on the stream. Why don't you say some stuff before you leave?
There wasn't a moment where I could, but I've enjoyed the discussion, guys. I do need to get back to scripting and editing. Zach's always a pleasure, and hopefully I can come join you again in January.
Love to have you back. And yeah, if he's got 1 million subs, so you probably know who he is already. But if you don't, check out his stuff. He's got great videos. Your From video, fantastic. And since you're here and I can force you to listen to me, I love that you had just freshly watched it because you tied so much together in your video, stuff that I'd kind of forgotten about. Most people probably would have over the years, but it's all fresh in your mind and it's a great take on it. So I appreciate that you did that, even though it's probably not the best, topic to make a long video about, but I really thought it was great.
Yeah. I as you said, watched the entire 3 seasons of the television show within like 2 weeks. So everything was quite fresh in my mind. It was a behemoth of a video to sort of get through and edit and write. But I thought that we did a decent enough job. So I appreciate that, Sax. And yeah, good luck with the rest of the discussion, guys. I'll catch you soon.
Thanks, Nia.
Night, Nia.
Take care. Bye-bye.
And we're back. So what's the next? So Cameron, then what is the process now for you've written the script, you've got the awards. Obviously, it's a good script. What it's the unproduced script, so that's an award. But
yeah, I mean, it's an award. It doesn't make the movie, right?
Right. No. Yeah.
And the purpose of any of these film festivals is to just get you attention. It's all PR, right? And my agents were very happy about that because that's a talking point for them. They can go bring it out to producers. Hey, look, this thing is winning awards. And again, all Hollywood wants is affirmation from somebody else that it's worth their time, right? Because it's very practical. It's just like, here's a horror movie by Kamran Pasha. They bring it to the boss. Who's that guy? Isn't that
right?
He wrote Roswell. Whatever. Is he really a horror guy? I mean, why are you bringing this to me? You're fired, right? Oh, this guy won like this big horror festival as like best unproduced feature. Maybe somebody else likes it. Maybe it's worth looking at, boss. Well, I guess it's got some credibility. Let me take a look at it. That's all this stuff is, right? And it's just PR, and you got to use all that PR. I mean, the Oscars are PR. That's how they were invented. The Oscars were
totally
for the movies. So
yeah, that was probably one of the most interesting things I ever did. Working as an intern was like doing an Oscar campaign for Loving Vincent, and that just the stuff that we had to do, and just the massive amounts of like, how can we promote this, and just contacting people, and everything we did too was grassroots, which was like really kind of a fun.
Yeah, but I mean look, everything in this entire town, this entire industry is just image. That's all it is. It's people become famous through image, through public relations. They lose it through image and public relations. That's all this town is. I mean, it's all the shuffling game of trying to get the PR machine to put the spotlight on you so that you can maximize your moment. That's the game.
You have your Patreon, which I'm a member of, been a member for quite a long time. The only Patreon I'm still a member of, and you really do get your money's worth there. So I pinned your link in the chat. It's the pinned comment, and that's how I managed to get access to things like your script.
Yeah.
And you do script advice as well.
Yeah, no, I do script consulting. I've actually done several in the last week with people on the Patreon. What it is, I mean, anybody can reach out to me for script consulting, but through the Patreon, you can actually email me. Members of my Patreon, sort of higher level tier members, get substantial discounts, right? And so far, the proof is in the pudding. People give me their scripts and their novels. I give them professional feedback. Then they come back with another one, or here's mine. They seem to like it, right? And one of the things I'm very proud of is actually one of my Patreon members, Jaime Gonzalez, just won. He won several festivals with a script that he brought to me that wasn't in great shape, and then I gave him a lot of advice. And to his credit, he did the work, and then he won a bunch of festivals. And just this past Friday, he had the premiere of a horror movie that he brought to me many months back as an idea, and he got it released. So God bless him. And that's a kid on my Patreon. So yeah,
that's awesome. Here's a question for you.
Cam, would you work Shudder to make it into film? They do great horror films. I responded in the chat, but yeah, I love Shudder. Actually, it's one of the apps that I will pay for. Right, I'm a huge horror buff, and on Shudder, you get to see incredible horror movies from all over the world that you didn't even know about. Some of the scariest movies I can't even watch, like I'll shut them off because they're so scary, are from Indonesia. Like Indonesia.
Oh my God, yeah.
I mean, you can't watch them. And you're like, oh, the monsters, the zombies.
Really?
I'm out. Just the makeup is that scary.
The demon, like the tales and stuff from their folk culture and stuff. Yep, it's very terrifying. Foreign horror movies tend to be more terrifying than westernized. Westernized just tries to fluff it too much with like jump scares, not actually be intelligent and have people walk away scared days later.
Do you know why?
Heretic to me is the only one that westernized this year that terrified me because it makes you think after you leave. Like, what is there an answer beyond death? Like, what happens to us? Is faith real? Like, if you're, yeah. So anyway, that's what.
But you see, you just hit the issue I was going to say, which is why is Heretic successful? Because it's hitting the issue that's really something that's troubling for Hollywood, because Hollywood is still very, most people in Hollywood are sort of like loudmouth atheists, right? The people I work with, right? And so they fear death more than anything else. So that fear, you can tell, it comes through in their writing of it, right? In their presentation of it. And the reason I think international horror films are so effective is that we're kind of fat and lazy in America and the West. But people who are suffering, who worry about where food's going to come from, who are just have more difficult lives in other parts of the world, they're living lives where they go to sleep at night and there can be real fear for what's going to happen tomorrow. You're some kid in Gaza. You don't know if you're going to wake up in the morning, right? People live in fear. And that fear, sometimes the only healthy way to channel that is through storytelling and art, right? And that's why I think horror comes out of, of places where there is real fear that needs to be transmuted somehow.
Right. Good night, CFH. Thanks for coming by. 20 days later, so there's a question in the chat for you from Shield Wall of Dragons. Here he is. Your favorite horror movie? Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I mean, I would put it in two. I would think, because they're different kinds of movies. I would say actually, my favorite would be The Exorcist. Because I think it is, for the reasons the Lady B's talking about, it's actually more. It's not really a horror movie. It's actually looking at questions of faith, which is very important to me. I write a lot about religion, and not just my religion, but other people's religions. And I look at the question of the afterlife and the spiritual world, and I think that movie explores it really well. But actually, my favorite sort of movie, I think the earliest great horror movie, which we're now seeing be remade, is Nosferatu, right? The original, the original silent film. I mean, it's a hard watch. I mean, Max Schreck, the German actor who plays Count Orlok in this movie. I mean, there's moments I can't look. Like, he's looking into the screen. He's like hypnotizing you. Like, just the actor being in the vampire makeup is so scary in the silent film. He looks into the screen. You're like, I can't look into his eyes, right? He was that brilliant. And so I'm looking forward to Egger's version of it. A few friends, including our friend Paulie, have seen it, and the consistent word is that it's a masterful work of art. Eggers, that it honors the original, and it's really, really scary. So even then, hopefully I'm going to love it. Even then, I will still hold Nosferatu as greater because they did this with nothing. They did this with silent films in 1920, whatever. So
I love that.
A movie like that still works, and we're remaking it 100 years later, trying to capture its magic again.
Nadia, do you have a favorite horror movie? Do you have I know you love horror; it's your thing. But do you have one that sticks out that you can? What's your favorite today? How about that? We'll do that
today, like 2024.
Yeah.
Or, I really liked Ex Huma, which is a Korean one that came out this year. Heretics on there. Strange Darling was really good. I would have put Long Legs on there, but it's starting to. The more I've rewatched it, and I don't think it holds up. I think the first initial watch is terrible. I like stories about demons and religion and stuff. That's my Achilles heel. So stuff like that terrifies me.
You like The Exorcist then?
Yeah. The Shining is one of my favorite horror movies, but similar to The Exorcist, it's not really a horror. Like it crosses genres for it. Exorcist, The Thing, the original Nosferatu. Oh man. Hold on. I got to pull up my critical list. I have a list.
Do it. I saw The Devil. Good one.
Well, watch this. I'm sorry. I'll let Al speak. I'm sorry.
Oh, you know what's good? That's sort of a horror movie. It's like Night of the Hunter. I don't know if anyone's ever seen that. That's a really cool black and white movie.
It's cool to watch. I've never seen it.
Poltergeist, American Werewolf in London, Sinister is one of my favorite because I like Scott Derrickson. I think he got screwed over at Marvel. Army of Darkness, Jennifer's Body, which is a little bit more of a modern one, and not a lot of people know this one. John Carpenter's Vampires. It's one of my favorite vampire movies. It's a hard watch, but it's
Coffee Table.
Yeah, Paulie's been recommending this multiple times. I have not gotten to it yet.
Would you guys say that?
Trailer.
I guess Nadia and Cameron, both of you. So, industry insiders, because of all the lockdowns and things like that, it seems like low budget movies were maybe easier to make or easier to be found by someone like me, who's just a sort of casual goofball. Do you think that will continue on, like down to these? Because we had YouTube channels making horror movies. Talk to Me, I think, was made by a YouTube channel, and Angry Boy.
It was a great movie. It was a great.
Do you think that's going to keep happening, or is that going to be stomped down now that Hollywood's?
No, it's not going to be stomped down. I mean, because horror is
look at Terrifier 3. Terrifier 3, look, it was made independently, and look how much money it made at the box office. Horror fans really like indie stuff more so. Werewolves, another great one that and I interviewed the director recently, another great one that hit theaters. Jacob's in the chat, Dog Soldiers, that's one of my favorite werewolf movies. I think there's always going to be a following for independent, especially when it comes to horror movies.
I agree.
A24, I mean, look at the Unicorn movie, that trailer that just dropped. That's a great production company. Can't say the same for Blumhouse, but they tried.
Well, I mean, success often makes you a little lazy, right? I mean, I think some of the earlier Blumhouse stuff was incredible.
Lazy. Yes, early Blumhouse is fantastic. This year, Blumhouse was in the shitter. So yeah, Night Swim, prime example.
Alex, you were saying
I think we're in the process of seeing that with A24 as well.
It's going really bad.
I feel A24 can be hit or miss, but Blumhouse has been misses like the last 2 years. I don't think I've seen a good Blumhouse movie.
Oh yeah, Blumhouse.
I agree with you. I'm far from a horror expert. The question I was going to ask Cameron is, kind of linking a couple of these these topics together. In your script, your main character is Maria Reyes.
Correct, a Latina Marine, yes.
Yes, and I'll be honest, my first thought when I read that was, oh no, another brown girl boss.
Sure.
And
hopefully you saw it took it in a different direction. Yeah, I hope that's what you felt, that it took it in a more surprising direction, but maybe you didn't.
After the first act, it got sort of more, kind of off from where I expected it to,
which is good. I hope.
I'm assuming you wrote this 2 years ago, as
No, I wrote this exactly what I said last summer during the, during the strike. You can write for yourself, you just can't sell anything. So I'm just writing something so that I have something available the moment the strike ended. I gave this to my agents, and it was September. So yeah, so let me explain why I chose that character. And actually, my good friend Paulie, Latino Slant, he's read the script. He's actually looking into it to see if we can make this a Latino Slant production. Like, he's expanding that wonderful channel to actually a production house, and seeing if he can use his network to finance this. And because it's a Latina who is the heroine, and there were practical reasons for that. One is two very practical reasons. One is that horror movies largely tend to be a female perspective, and we can talk. And I'd love to get Lady B's and Nadia's perspective on that. But I think a lot of it is exploring female fears and psychology, the final girl phenomenon. So choosing a woman as the lead of this thing. And this was the first military conflict in United States history where women were actually in combat. All right. There were women not just serving as translators and support. They were actually with guns and expected to shoot and put themselves in military situations. Right. And that was in the Iraq War in 2003. And so in this movie, that's part of the storyline. And she's one of the first being actually sent into combat. And is she ready for it? I mean, she's a New York City police officer, so she has some training already. Right. That's her background. But it's the other, so it's a woman, and then the Latina part is very practical. Again, and this is, Paulie would agree, I'm sure, Hollywood now perceives the Latino community as the next big market for horror movies in particular. It's in general.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But what they discovered was during the Paranormal Activity movies, when they started doing demographic analysis of those movies, it was massively populated by Latino audiences, to the point that they started doing Paranormal Activity spin-off movies under that franchise name in Spanish, right? And filmed for Latin communities that white people weren't even watching. That's when they began to figure it out. And so it's one of the reasons why Jenna Ortega and Melissa Barrera were hired in Scream, because they were seen as, we want to bring Scream to a Latin community now, right? That was the intention of it. And so that is very much a strategic choice of where Hollywood is expecting horror movies that are made with Latino cast and that are going to have Latino themes. And in this one, I think her background, it's not she just happens to be a brown woman. I mean, her Catholicism, her Spanish background are, I think, very central to her character growth in dealing with these demons. I think, at least that was my intention, right? And that was certainly Paulie's reaction when he read it. He's like, this is from his point of view, this was a very Latino friendly script. Like, Latinos would want to watch, a Latina woman in combat facing demons. And I hope he's right.
Okay, so I guess that there were
choices.
Sort of three questions that I had, and I think you answered two of them. The first one was, if you'd written it now in Hollywood, would you have changed it up? Would you have gone with a white?
1 year later? No, this is exactly what is needed right now. This is the market's only stronger. It's only getting bigger in both of these areas.
Gotcha. Okay. Then my second question was, basically, my first thought on reading this was, what was your target audience? Now that I kind of have an understanding, it's, it is Latinos. Some of these things start
laughing. It is meant to be. I mean, I want everyone to watch this movie, right? But the audience, if you want to think the audience that I'd love to have, the general audience, is the audience for Predator, because it's a lot like that in theme. It's about soldiers facing strange paranormal phenomenon, or something they don't understand, creatures they can't see, who are hunting them underground. So it has themes that are similar to Predator.
Gotcha. And I guess when I was reading that, my question was, because the first act very much is an action movie, so I can see how, that's sort of how you get there with Predator. My question was, is the Predator audience, the male action movie audience, going to get turned off by, another strong brown Latino woman?
I mean, did it sounds like by that in Terminator 2? I mean, it's not in Aliens 2. I mean, that character, who wasn't even played by a Latina, is played by a nice white Jewish woman that they brown faced, right? I mean, she's great, right? I mean, that female Marine is great. I mean, I don't think I would like to believe that for the last 5 years that I've been in this YouTube thing, people have been attacking the fans unjustly. You didn't like Ray because it's a woman. It's like, no, it's a badly written character. I mean, the reality is everyone loved Ripley. Everyone loved Sarah Connor and all these characters. So I would hope that people would. It's a good movie with monsters and soldiers, and the trope of a woman facing monsters and soldiers is very 1980s action. I would hope that all those people would come see it for that reason.
The issue, like you're taking something on directly, which I think is it's brave of you to do that, because you have to know there's going to be people who are saying that exact thing as soon as they hear the story outline or see a trailer. That's what's going to be the first thing a lot of people are going to say.
That's lost to us. I mean, imagine if Terminator came out today. Oh, this waitress is going to take on Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah,
but that's not the mindset of the original audience. So why have we devolved?
Welcome, Paulie.
Wait. Well, my question is: has the well been poisoned to such an extent that it, would it be a turn off the general audience?
I would hope not, because then that would reveal that the critics of the fans got it right, that the fans really are sexist and misogynist. If they actually absorbed that into their system, and if they were given well-written female characters, they didn't want them, then the critics would be right, and I don't believe they're right. I just don't.
Well, I don't think it would be about, they'd go in and they'd see the movie and they'd say the movie is bad for that reason. I think it would be, they'd see a trailer for it and groan and decide not to watch it.
But again, those people, then I think then they deserve what they get, which is that they lose out on a good movie. The same thing happened with Ms. Marvel, because Ms. Marvel was what they all claimed they wanted. Ms. Marvel was a family-oriented, fun, traditional conservative family show that just happened to be about a bunch of Pakistani people and a Pakistani superhero. But there were people I went up in YouTube and I was the man against the system saying, this is a great show. I'm watching it with my mom. And I know I'm a conservative guy, and I'm watching with my mom. We're having a great time and talking about it with my niece. And it wasn't just that. All my friends who were watching it who weren't Pakistani were like loving the family values of the show. But then there were all these grumbly people in the fandom who, especially on YouTube, were like, if it's a brown Pakistani woman, I'm sure it's woke, because she's going to talk about immigrant colonial battles and whatever and stuff like that. I'm like, man, that wasn't the show. And people denied themselves a good show for over a year until they started hearing the actress from the show making all these comments criticizing Feige and others for going away from source material. And then they realized that she was a fangirl, which she is, right? And then they're like, oh, she's on our side. Let me watch her show. Oh, this was a great show. Why didn't I watch it the first time? That's prejudice and losing things that are being made for you. And that may be that the well is poisoned, but it's also tapping into ugly bigotries that are then unleashed. There was never any reason to assume that Ms. Marvel was woke, but people did, and they were misled by themselves.
I'm very curious.
But it did
Alex.
terribly.
I'm very curious.
I don't know if it did well. I mean, it should have done better. It deserved better. It was a better show than what it did. So that's sad.
Is this on? Is this on?
I hear you, Paulie.
Sorry,
I'm very Alex. I'm very curious, Cameron, about where Alex is frame where he's coming from. Did you read the whole script?
I did.
What did you think of it? Did you like? Didn't you enjoy it?
I think it's a little bit of a meh reaction I'm getting, and that's okay.
So my issue is, for the most part, I'm not generally a horror guy. So I was pretty turned off by the first half, but then as they got sort of down into the crypt, I started to enjoy it more.
What turned you off in the first half? I'm just curious, because it's an action movie in the first half. It's during the Iraq War. Was there something? Did you feel
he's not into horror at first, and I get it.
But the first half is just an action movie. It's about soldiers fighting insurgents. The first 30 minutes.
Yeah, the way it was written
for you in the first 30 minutes.
So it was a little bit of. I thought the military stuff was kind of surface level. There were some comments made, grenades causing fire explosions, soldiers in Iraq using big flashlights.
All right. Well, I mean, if there's technical things, I will say this. I had a friend of mine who was a soldier in the Iraq War that reviewed it for technicality. So if there's any errors in there, then I'll accept responsibility for that. But I did rewrite it based on technical specs, and he told me that we didn't use those weapons and this and that. So if the critique is technicalities, great. This is a draft. Once the filming script happens, we'll have all the proper. Everything is going to relate to that. This is the first draft to get the project moving. But if the critique is that, so the critique wasn't on the storyline, you felt individual details didn't match up to what you knew. And so that was a turnoff. I'm actually seeking feedback, not trying to put you on the spot. I'm very confident in the value of the film, so I don't need to worry. If you didn't think it was great, that's perfect. But I would love to get the feedback so I understand where you're coming from.
So that was part of it. Another aspect of it was, and again, maybe it's a matter that dialogue, it's a first draft. Dialogue is going to get reworked. I didn't love it. I wasn't blown away by it. I found the
but the overall story
character,
the overall story,
the Rashid character, the insurgent. Yeah, what about him?
Maybe it's the American in me, but I'm never going to find the Iraqi insurgent to be a compelling character or a character that I want anything good to happen to ever.
So these are personal. These are personal biases on your part, and these are biases because the point of the movie is that these two adversaries have to join forces to defeat something greater. And if that's not a message that if interests you because the Iraqi guy is someone unlikable because he's an Iraqi insurgent fighting American soldiers, well, that's a personal distaste, right? But the point of the movie is that it's also a distaste of the heroine. She doesn't like him either, right? And she's forced to work with him for a greater good. I mean, so it's not like the heroine is like, I love this guy. She sees him as the adversary.
Oh, 100%. But I guess what I would say is, while yes, it is my personal bias, I strongly suspect that many Americans, and Paul, you and I have talked about this before, the Latino audience very much corresponds with the conservative white audience. And I don't see a conservative white audience and sort of as an extension, a Hispanic audience really loving the United States military teaming up with for lack of a better word, a radical Islamic terrorist.
Well, of course, he's not. Number one, he's an error. He's not. He's a Ba'athist. He's one of Saddam's. This is 2003. Saddam has just fallen. There's no ISIS yet. There's no insurgency yet. It's just beginning. He's a Ba'athist from the revolutionary, from the Republican Guard. So he's a secularist. See, already this is an error that's coming from your perception of things. He is a secular Arab who is not a religious Muslim. Right? Not particularly anymore. So Saddam wasn't particularly religious. So this is, again, projection of what you think these people are, which is the opposite of who they actually are. You may just say, okay, they're American, so that's the problem.
But this is a good conversation that we're having with Alex. This is like Alex I would love to.
Well, that's why I'm engaging him. I'm not getting offended.
No. Hear me out, Cameron. Hear me out, Cameron. Like the next stages of our production, let's throw it to him again. Let's throw him another draft or whatever it is, because eventually, like me as a producer, let's say, I think Alex would love this film. It's a kick-ass story. It's enemies coming together at the end of the day, fighting these demons. I had a blast reading this, but I know Nadia has to go.
Nadia, you're going to leave us?
I do. I'm sorry. Got to work a 9 to 5.
Nadia.
Thank you, Nadia. What's going on with you on your channel now that you're back?
Next week it's pretty packed. I've got for Tuesday, I've got a Nosferatu stream on the 26th with a bunch of folks. I'm on Polly's Monday, somewhere else Monday. Tomorrow I'm on Gooch. Just follow me on Twitter. You all know. So thank you for having me on.
Nadia.
I also have your script, and I will also read it when I get a moment.
You are of Arab ancestry, so perhaps you'll appreciate the respect I showed Arab Christians there are Arab Christians in the script, which people don't realize. Okay. There's a lot of Arab Christians in Iraq.
Yeah, I'm an Arab Catholic, so
HIT.
I will. But have a good night, everybody. And if I don't talk to everybody, have a great Christmas, everybody. Bye.
Merry New Year.
I sent Alex the script and he read it almost immediately. Like you had done reading it that night.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And Alex also, he has his own channel and he does a lot of reviews and critiques and the guy reads like a machine. So I think he's a good example of somebody that he's intelligent, well read, that you could work with and get some ideas from to at least make it more easily palatable at the beginning. Because the first part of it, I didn't know enough about military procedures. So it took me longer to get through the beginning of going through it, like going through the trial process and putting together an all-girls unit. And so that was a struggle for me to read, but I don't think I'd have an issue watching it, if that makes sense. Like if it was on screen, I would get it.
Sure.
But
we got bogged down in the descriptive form that's in the script format.
I didn't know what that meant.
so it's new to you.
Yep.
So I was reading it again. I don't know how to read scripts, so I'll get better. Hopefully, I'll see all of your scripts. But yeah, I did.
You
I did
read
once
one page, you turn it. You read the next one, you turn it.
It's like a formatting thing that you're not used to doing. I mean, honestly, I thought that like I've read a lot of spec scripts and I thought it was really good. Like for terms
Well,
of
let's
like
get a balance because I've done the critique. I would actually like to hear something good about my script, then we can go back to the critique. So let's hear it.
like it was really concise.
I've
and
taken
the job
a lot of
done,
critique on it.
like-
Let's also hear something good about it because the fact is I just won a film festival, so it can't be that bad. So let's hear
No,
it.
it's not. And I mean, like my own
Cameron,
like,
come on,
Cameron,
No,
it's
Alex is giving. I'd actually
feedback.
I want Alex's feedback. I want everyone's feedback.
I
Because if
like
you remember
my
too,
feedback.
Can I also
is-
get the feedback if somebody likes it? Can we get that?
Absolutely. Like,
Yes.
you-
One person who has many critiques is the majority of the audience, and I don't actually believe that's true. So let's hear later.
All right.
Okay.
My one critique is that it's 2003. You're dealing with somebody that is like not English as their first language, and I was just, is it weird that he's calling the Americans like imperialists and stuff like that? I'm not sure that
he was again to clarify. He is Iraqi intelligence officer high up in Saddam's Republican Guard. Those were highly educated people, spoke multiple languages.
I
was a
do,
character
and yeah,
on
I
Lost.
understand.
That was the character on Lost. That was that character, right? And nobody questioned that he was able because he's a spy, so he can communicate.
Yeah, I would understand communicating, but it's also something that like rings back to like, cultural Marxism.
Again,
It's, like,
but
something
again,
we
the issue
realize.
is the Baathists of Saddam were Marxists, so they're going to say stuff like that.
Yeah, but also
have you
understand
ever
your
heard of
audience, and they don't know that like the intricacies of like Iraqi politics and stuff. Like I know what the Baathists are, and I was like, okay, I don't have a problem with character. I'm just saying the dialogue. Other than that, let's talk about the good things. Like I really liked your appreciation of the esoteric stuff, and that's like some kind of like I don't know. I hate calling it mythology because I don't think that's a very good term for that, but the sort of like religious stories of that area that don't really get talked about. And there's a lot of really cool stuff there. Yeah, I think it was just an interesting story. I didn't mind the the Iraqi like translator guy and sort of going like, I think a lot of it is in the visuals too. It's like, how are you going to portray that on screen? Will it be compelling? I mean, I kind of felt that there was some background there and I could kind of connect to the characters, but again, it is short and it is like a horror story and you don't like you don't get a super like deep amount on any of the characters. So
yeah, I mean, I think there's Rizzo, the sort of like, problematic dude in there, in her squadron, right? It get a little bit more background on him because he's the more morally complex person there. She's the heroine, but this is the guy that's sort of gray. Yeah.
Yeah.
Monsters and Soldiers sounds cool. And you've talked about this idea with us before. I think even over a year ago I guess you're probably working on it and not telling us at the time, but this idea of the Well of Babylon, it's come out before.
Well, it's 20 years old because it was pitched to me by my Sufi master in 2003 while it was happening. In the time that this is set in, which is June of 2003, was when he told it to me. And I wrote it in 2023, so it took me 20 years to do it. Okay, so all that's fair. So to make it sound like I'm not being a jerk to Alex, right? Because artists are always sensitive. No, but I mean, look.
Alex, he's this passionate in person. What you see right now is it?
No.
Guys, I promise, I'm not taking anything personal. I'm not offended. Cameron,
what I'm doing is I'm not taking it personal either. The perception is Cameron is defending his script. When you're saying, okay, I'm explaining why I made certain choices. If those choices don't ring true to you, or you didn't see those choices, but everything was done on purpose. Like if he's using terms like you giving him lectures on imperialism, you should read Saddam's speeches. Saddam wasn't using Islamist ideology. He was, even the Iraq War. So we're fighting the colonial imperial war. Right? That he wasn't like we're fighting the Crusaders. We're fighting the colonialists, right? We're fighting an imperial war because he was a Baathist. And that was the ideology of that state. That state is just collapsed at the beginning of this movie. So people still think like this. So I'm just explaining why certain choices were made. And if they're confusing choices, that's fair to know.
So yeah, I'm not saying it's confusing. I'm just saying like what your audience will think.
Sure.
It's really interesting.
I actually want to.
Oh, sorry.
Please let Al speak.
Please. No.
I actually want to disagree with my wife here.
Okay.
I thought the soldiers, any confusion that I had as far as the interpersonal dilemmas of the soldiers, my first thought was, if you put the right actors into these roles and you let their physical appearance and their physical acting tell much of the story, I actually think you're fine in that regard. So I think, I'm actually on your side here on that aspect.
Well, yeah, because ultimately a script is a blueprint, right? It's one actor is going to bring a completely different inflection to a scene or a line than another actor will. That's just the reality of the next stage of the process.
Yep. Are you familiar with an idea, and it's more in academia than it is in script writing, but I think it applies here as well.
Yeah,
it's called the Tiffany problem.
I've heard of the Tiffany problem. Explain to me what the Tiffany problem is, because I don't really know it.
So the Tiffany problem is essentially that if you were writing a script in the Middle Ages, the 1300s, and you had a character called Princess Tiffany, everybody would think you're an idiot because everybody thinks Tiffany is a modern name.
Yeah, they don't feel like that would be a period correct name. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
In actuality, Tiffany would be a perfectly accurate name for somebody in the 14th century to have.
Okay.
But because the audience doesn't perceive it that way, it causes the cognitive dissonance the exact same way in the audience as something that's factually incorrect.
Sure. I understand. So again, the point is that you have to write to audience expectations, and if they're going to be confused, at the very least, you have to address it.
I love it.
And so, and you're a smart guy. I mean, you graduated from Dartmouth, right?
Yeah, I'm wearing Penn State shirt, but yes, I graduated. I taught at Penn State. That's right, shirt. Yeah.
So you're significantly smarter than your average audience member. You are from a different background than your average audience member. I think you have a different perception of somebody that's in Saddam's elite guard than your general audience does, because there is a scene in your script where there's the serving girl, and he's he kind of shows that he's not
he's not a jackass. He saved her life when one of his guys starts killing everybody. Yeah.
Yes, and so it is there in the script, but I'm just not sure you're ever going to get what is the expression? Can it sell in Dubuque, or can it sell in I forget what the Midwestern city is?
If it can sell, yeah, right.
And that's fair, but the question is the market for this Dubuque? I mean, the goal is for a modern horror film to get it seen internationally, right? So worldwide.
Yeah, and if you had said earlier in regards to the U.S. Latino movie-going population, which week in, week out saves Hollywood. Their tastes are very diverse and very eclectic. The biggest films you see is when the biggest hits you'll see is when the movie-going audience, when it over-index their 19 to 20% population. And when they're big hits, you'll see that the U.S. Latino demographic jump up along with because the Caucasian's always the main one. That's the big market. But two things can take place at the same time. You know what I mean, Alex? It's like you can be clever and heavy lifting as far as a great story towards that has Latinos in it, while at the same time entertaining a general audience. That is my goal. That is absolutely.
And ironically, I all sorts of demographic studies would agree with you that Latinos are the one minority that doesn't sort of see themselves as almost isolationist in a way. A Latino audience doesn't react to a Latino character the same way often an Asian audience does to an Asian main character. So I think you're 100% right there. If you are trying for a Latino audience, I think a lot of the times they don't necessarily want to be pandered to. I mean, I think you can.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the other things is, and I get Paula, you can actually address it. We have Latino slant on here as well. But we've kind of talked a little bit about this, but I actually want to ask about this. One of the intuitions that I had in it being a Latino in the Middle East, and maybe this isn't true, so let's find out, is that one thing we are seeing today in 2024, which is 21 years after this story is set, right, is that Latinos, and we've talked about this, are more sympathetic in many ways to issues, Middle Eastern issues like Palestine, than maybe Americans from Iowa or Omaha are, right? They probably don't know much about it, but their general view is, the dumb Palestinian terrorists and good Israeli heroes, and that's the world, right? And a lot, as we saw, it was mostly Latin American countries that immediately took the side of Gaza in the last year and whatever, and pulled ambassadors from Israel and blah, blah, blah. It was mostly Latin American, Central American countries, and Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega have been very passionate in speaking for that. So, and then you have people like Penelope Cruz and others who not just talk about Palestine, they just generally have a very large following in the Arab world, in the Muslim world. And because of that sort of Islamic element of Latino culture, which is the 800 years of Moorish rule, there is a connection there that maybe doesn't exist with Scottish culture, for example, right? So is the fact that she ends up having to work with her enemy, who she doesn't like initially, which is an Iraqi enemy who's shooting at her people, right? And whom she kind of blames for the events of the opening sequence, the loss of someone she loves. Could the fact of this cultural affinity, or at least understanding of Arab culture, to modern 2024, 2025 Latino audiences, would that make it more believable to them that she could end up allying with this guy? Is that true today? I'm not sure that's true in 2003, but would the audience react in a more favorable way of a Latino connecting with this guy? Is that fair or not? I don't know.
I think it is. I was like, I didn't have a problem with that. I mean, you're like in this like life or death thing. It's like, tell me what's going on. And then it's like, okay, we have to get along to survive this thing. I didn't have a problem with that at all.
But Paulie, what do you think from Latino culture? We've talked about contemporary Latino sympathy for Middle Eastern people. Would that in any way play into how an audience perceives that dynamic today? I don't know. Tell me.
I think what's so interesting about the Latino community, right? Generational and topics is that you can be conservative on on a certain issue, more liberal on another one, and you see that a lot in the Latino politics. You saw a huge shift over the last 12 years since Barack Obama was elected, of the Latino vote going to the right. This is not an opinion. This is not a Latino slant, hot take. This is data. Where even the Obama pollsters who were Latino got it wrong, because they assumed that immigration was their number one issue when it wasn't even their top five. They had a lot of meat and potato. We could even say conservative issues, which slowly over the last 12 years, you've seen that shift. Now, that being said, in the same space, man, the same breath, you've seen this other generation, like Andre Munoz here, like Chelsea Rendon, like Jenna Ortega, Melissa Barrera, speaking out in regards to Palestine. Absolutely. And whether they got and they do represent a slice of the Latino community. I wouldn't say a majority, but I think there's something a little bit more grounded in their approach than a Latinx approach. 100%.
Yep, and it's you can look at the polling data. Latino men went 47% for Trump. Now, Latino women I think it was something more like 32 for Trump. But at least in my experience, when it comes to horror action movies, men buy the tickets.
Right.
You take your girlfriend to the movies. And that may be wrong. You guys are closer to Hollywood than I am, but when I look at what's driven the box office recently, with the exception of Barbie, it's been male-driven movies.
Well, I think that's a general rule, and you're correct. It just those movies where they kind of like bring in more of a female audience, those are anomalies, right? and
Well, yeah, look at Smile. Look
those
at
are
Smile.
interesting to watch. But you said something earlier in regards to a Latina. You gave the example of Vasquez. I actually don't think that's a good example. I actually think
that's from Aliens, the second movie.
Correct. So I actually think Predator, the original movie, the two people that survived was a Latina woman and Schwarzenegger. Those are great characters, man. Shit, she was like what a captured rebel.
Yeah, I mean she was on the other side. Yeah.
She was on the other side,
and she tried to escape them. She was like she got them into trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you remember, they both pretty much went native and used their smarts to outsmart the Predator. I mean, that first Predator was incredible. So yeah, no, I'm just I obviously don't want our characters to be freaking girl bosses. I think this lead character is written very well. I think it gets we've had notes from Latina actresses working the business give their notes on it. So I think it's very interesting, Alex.
Yeah, and again, I would just want to on just on the demographics that you raised. I just want to add that and let you speak, Alex. I mean, look, I really liked the first Smile movie, and I enjoyed the second one. I thought the first one was better. I just thought it was very emotionally poignant with the schizophrenia issue. I have close family friends and who've been through schizophrenia and whatever, and so that movie was very meaningful to me. But I do think that was probably a male skewing audience. But again, both those movies, standard horror film, you got the female lead, right? But I don't think anybody's watching in there thinking, we got, and this one, now we had an Indian woman in the second one. I don't think I was in there going, what are they trying to ram down my throat? Indian woman. I was like, I want to see the Smile monster. I want to see what it does, right? And the woman being there was kind of like an expected trope in horror movies for the most part.
Yep, and I think that's a very fair criticism. Your commentary earlier about horror being predominantly viewed through the lens of women, I think, is very accurate. But I think there's a significant difference between something like Smile, which is viewed as, I haven't seen the movie, but it's sort of a woman walking around her day-to-day life in America, seeing people smiling weirdly, as opposed to a shoot-'em-up military thriller for the first half.
So again, you got because I'm an '80s guy. I talked about that earlier in the podcast here. So you got the Terminator movies. You've got Predator. You've got all these '80s movies. Where it was female action stuff. That's certainly what the intent is, to tap into that. And men loved it. And maybe men didn't go through a decade of Kathleen Kennedy ramming garbage down our throat. But I would like to believe that men still want a fun female action movie that leaves a feminine woman, because this isn't, I don't think that one can accuse the character I created to be Mary Sue. I mean, she is very much in over her head.
No, she's not a Mary Sue.
Yeah.
Did you guys check out Warfare, the trailer for Warfare?
No.
Was it the A24 movie?
Yeah. Oh my.
What in the world?
That's Michelle Rodriguez.
Yeah. She's like kind of you were talking about Vasquez. I think that for me, she's the archetype for the physical female lead that people for the most part, you can buy into. I don't know whether it's I think it's how she carries herself for the most part. She's not like she's like thickly muscled. She's obviously fit, but I think that she encapsulates sort of that personality, and she's sort of the basis for that. Because Vasquez, I love Vasquez as a character, but she doesn't really get to do a ton in that movie before it's
She got some great quips. She's very good at quips in that.
Yes.
There's comics and books with her and her relatives.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
And we interviewed the lady that wrote the Vasquez novel. It's all right. It's okay. I mean, honestly, compared to your script, it's pretty weak. But she got the official. She also did the official book for Snyder's. What's that latest one?
Rebel Moon.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a new movie called Warfare from A24 from Ray Mendoza, who is, I believe, a veteran for the Iraq wars, Alex. And he worked on Civil War with Alex Garland. That looks insane. That looks really good.
It does. And I guess, Cameron, maybe a consolation I think I'm more than happy to give you on this one.
I'll take a consolation. Give it to me.
You know, you bring up the Terminator movies. In Terminator 2, you know, there's the Sarah Connor pull-up scene, which does an immense amount of work in convincing me that this woman is actually a stud.
Right.
And, you know, maybe with the right actor or the right actress and, you know, a little bit of, you know, more of that development in a way to establish that, you know, this person actually is capable, it would be easier for me to buy it. But, you know, what the background of New York Cop, I think would have worked great 30 years ago. But New York Cop to me no longer means, you know, this person is a badass. When I think New York Cop, I think fat, overweight guy who might as well be a garbage man rather than you know, a warrior, if you will.
So that's actually a very good note, Alex. So let me give you actually a response to that. In a next pass on this script, let's assume it moves forward to a place where it's like, oh, a producer studio wants it. That's actually very helpful, because what I would do then is I would, you know, give her a great opening action sequence as a member of a SWAT team, right? Dealing with an actual action sequence in New York City, bank robbery, whatever it is, where we see her go badass, and then we go into the scene with her brother. That's the opening scene of the film currently, right? And we see her pull back for that, so that you can believe that someone who was a badass cop in an elite unit in New York City, and there are women, you know, who are elites in many police forces, not a lot of them, but they do exist, and so. Then you can go into that would be someone that could be recruited into the army after September 11th, which is the basis of what happens, or into the military, right? That is certainly one possible way. Would something like that assuage your concern a bit?
Yes and no. You know, women's SWAT team, I'm probably make me roll my eyes, just because that's a male field 99.999%.
Alex, what if they said girls get it done first? Would that change it?
Yes. But what I would suggest is instead of going the direction of you know, SWAT team, do something about her being a woman. Do something, you know, she's an undercover person doing drugs or something that, you know, proves that she's a badass. You know, have her draw a gun,
get herself in dangerous situations. Okay.
Yeah, without pretending that she's a dude.
Okay. Although, by the way, that's a good idea, because you just need an opening sequence that's exciting, that establishes her ability to survive in a dangerous moment.
Or like, what if she was like an EMT or something?
She can be, except in this movie does require her to be ready for combat.
Yeah.
So she should definitely have EMT training. I think. By the way, when you said that, Alex, I looked up female SWAT team members, and less than 1% are members of SWAT team. So that's correct. Although there are some very famous ones, and what I just saw is apparently Dubai, and actually this jogged my memory. Dubai in 2021 established an all-female SWAT team that's actually really badass. Like Dubai actually has like a kick-ass like female unit that actually is very effective. So it didn't exist in 2003.
Soul Assassin makes a comment here that when people think about women's SWAT team, the video that's most likely to come to mind is their competition at the SWAT team training, where they immediately failed the first challenge in the obstacle course.
Yeah.
You know, additionally, there's always been the you know, Gaddafi had his leopardesses. There's always been the military strong guy with the 15 women with guns around him, Hadi Brigade.
That, by the way, is very much a Middle Eastern tradition. It actually goes back hundreds of years, because I've written a lot of sort of Middle Eastern historical epics, and the hot women that defend the harem and are like badass, like with a scimitar, right? That's like a real historical phenomenon. So yeah.
This is Raquel Rodriguez. She's a wrestler, and she's 6 feet. She's over 6 feet tall, and I think that like if you physically, if you look at her, I think people would buy her as being a SWAT team member just by looking at her because she's got the size, she's athletic. It's not the same thing as trying to sell like a Kristen Stewart as being a SWAT team member. And I think like that, I think that does a lot of work for you because I could buy her that she can kick ass because of course she can.
Yeah, I mean, if we saw Gina Carano,
and she looks great.
Yeah, we would believe it. Yeah. So look, these are fair comments. These are Alex and and Ed Lady B. These are fair comments because I actually do think we should probably add a scene that shows her in an actiony way, and it's fair, Alex. You give me to make it believable. That's a very useful note for the next stage of this script because I do think the script would benefit from an added scene that makes you realize who she is, so that you believe that she would join these first ever female in action units that existed in 2003.
Yeah, I think it's interesting everyone's notes because there's obviously a shift to a degree with some Hollywood productions and entities, but we stay true. We stay true to the story. We keep working on the characters and their development. I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, and again, and the purpose of this movie is, for those who read the script, ultimately she isn't meant to be a badass. She's not the big kick-ass fighter. I mean, she's surrounded by men. In the movie, in the section that you read, Zach, she's being used as most of those women were used. They were used as translators.
Yeah.
They were used as translators, right? And then they were armed because people were shooting at them, and they were expected to shoot back and not just go running to men to save them, right?
Yeah,
and
she
so
wasn't.
that was what happened in the Iraq War.
Okay, question on that front. Like, how realistic is it to imagine somebody's learning Arabic in 18 months?
Well, it's there's two ways to address that. One is, I think, because it was a note somebody raised earlier, Paulie.
Yeah.
One, and it is. Actually, it was Chelsea Rendon.
Good note. It's a good note.
Yeah, it is a good note, and part of that can be solved in that scene, the opening scene with her brother. Before the tragic events that will follow, and where we establish that because he's trying to get her out of the police and join him on Wall Street, right? In that scene, well, look, you are so much bigger than this. You've got a talent for languages. You've got all this stuff. Why are you doing this thing when you could be bigger? There's ways to establish that, like, for example, my niece, she is autistic and she has an incredible, she has many challenges educationally. But she has this incredible facility for languages. Like, she taught herself Japanese in like a few months.
Wow.
I mean, what? From watching YouTube videos. Like,
That's intense.
But again, that's part of the autism, right? Part of her brain doesn't work the way ours does, and part of her does a remarkable thing that she can speak multiple languages as a 19-year-old girl, self-taught from YouTube, right? So there's ways to sell how someone could do it, and there's also the emotional impact of the event, and I don't want to blow it for the screen, but the event that is the catalyst that sends her into the military, there's an emotional desire for revenge that can certainly accelerate your desire to be of value to a team and learning a language. We know women are being used as translators. You have a desire, there are, people can learn languages within 18 months. They can be effective. And we had them. We didn't have a lot of Arab women in the Iraq War serving as translators. The women that were sent there had to learn Arabic fast, right, in order to be effective in there. And that they played that role in that war. They weren't native speaking Arabic, and they learned it fast because the war happened within about 2 years 18 months really after September 11th. So,
yeah. I mean, if that's part of her MOS, there's no reason she wouldn't have also gotten training as part of her job. I mean, shit, they did it in American Assassin. An American Assassin, they killed the guy's girlfriend, and he was over there. Say again?
I'm sorry, that movie with Bradley Cooper. Yeah,
Bradley Cooper.
Was the American Assassin? Am I wrong?
It was
Sniper. Is that?
No, that's American Sniper. I'm sorry.
American Assassin was the Batman, the old Batman actor.
Keaton?
Yeah, Michael Keaton and Dylan O'Brien.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember seeing the trailers for that.
Actually, surprisingly good movie. Kind of loved it, actually. So, they did it in that movie, and I don't think anybody said, that's unrealistic. No way he could have done that.
Well, because, again, he has a very life and death. He's an assassin. He has a very life and death situation where you must learn these skills, and you're going to be learning the language 14 hours a day until you get it.
Yep.
So these are all fair comments. Okay, Alex, I didn't, I defended the choices I made, but it's important to understand your reaction because there will be others that are going to react that way. And so either adjust the script or know how to at least make the script. You can't be invulnerable to critique and people just not having the same opinion, but at least be able to address as many things as someone might notice.
Yeah, and I think a lot of those things can be answered, Cameron, or like worked on when we get to that level with a military advisor.
Yeah,
I mean that's that would be smart. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and that's what they do in actual films. Once you actually get, because this is the spec script stage of the process. Then there's the stage of the process where you get the spec script bought by a studio. And then you usually go through several years process of rewriting it and getting notes not as good as the notes that Alex and Lady Balefire are giving us, right? Getting notes from complete morons who are like, do we have to make this in the Iraq War? I mean, does this need to be a movie about the military at all? And you're like, what the fuck am I doing? But now you've sold your soul to the devil and you got to go down this direction, right? And so then somehow the movie survives that process and comes somewhat intact to the movie you wanted to make. Then you get military advisors and all that other stuff. Once you're getting into pre-production, once you have a script that's close to locked, and the studio's like, all right, we want to make this movie, then these other people come in. And that often happens when the lead actor is cast and they're like, I need to be believable in this role. And so I need all these advisors coming in and making this work.
Yep.
Those are the stages of the journey ahead.
Truthfully,
I think I'm sorry, I'm confused because Paulie sent some of this Edwin Arjona pit, and now I can't really talk right now. So
you need to take a minute. We can keep going.
I do. I need to take a minute.
So yeah, like kind of dream casting the lead. I know Cameron's really into Melissa Barrera, where I think Adria Arjona would be spectacular. And I think a lot of these questions, a lot of the problems will soon also disappear when the lead is so damn gorgeous and just a badass.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think that people want to watch a movie with attractive people and they want to see
but granted, I want to make Alex happy in the sense like it's got to have some basis of reality. Adria here is
so all right, wait, I want to give you that. So then I want to give it. So I want to respond to that because there's always going to be what we writers call the asshole, right? Which is, it's called the asshole problem. You sit around a writer's room and you're like, all right, we have to solve this problem. Okay, what about this problem? What is this problem? And they finally get to somebody goes, what about this thing? And you're like, oh, only an asshole is going to notice that. Right.
Yeah.
And that's when you stop. Then you're like, okay, we're stopping, but we're just not going to address it because only an asshole will notice that. And an asshole will. So let me give you my asshole moment as an audience member. You all remember Kevin Costner in Robin Hood? Remember that? Great movie. Really good. It's still a good movie. I love this movie. But I'm sitting there watching, and Morgan Freeman is in there as his Muslim brother, right? All that stuff, right? And I'm sitting there, and I should be happy that this is a movie with a Muslim hero as the sidekick to Robin Hood. You've never seen that, right? In a Robin Hood movie. And that was an important part of the film. But I'm sitting there as the Muslim guy, the asshole in the audience going, oh, Morgan Freeman is doing the prayer wrong. Oh, he didn't get the
yeah. Right.
And all of us Muslims were like, instead of being excited that we got some positive representation in Hollywood in a Robin Hood movie, we're like, I don't know about that. They got that wrong. So I was the asshole in the movie at that time. There's always going to be the asshole. So you want to get all the notes. Most of Alex's notes weren't asshole notes, and so they're worthy of consideration. So, but there always will be that asshole that you just can't make happen.
Yeah, but Cameron, the comparison that I'm going to make is, I don't know if you watch basketball, but Jason Kidd is a terrible basketball coach, and Magic Johnson is a terrible NBA general manager, despite being the smartest players ever. And I think they're like that because they look at their players and go, "Why are you so dumb? Why don't you see the things that I naturally see on the basketball court?"
Because they're smarter than everybody else.
Yeah. And I think, man, Cameron, if I could give you one piece of advice as a writer, and who am I to give you that? You're a professional. I'm just a guy. Remember, you're writing for 93 IQ people who grew up in Kansas.
That's a fair note. At the same time, I also have to try. That's a fair note.
It's a good note.
it is a good note, but at the same time, I have to respond with this, which is the executives assume that everyone is not as smart as they are, and the executives are the dumbest people in the room, right? They're 73 IQ people, right?
Yes.
You know, they're dumber than the audience, and so they will dumb it down to the audience that they think is not as even as intelligent as them. And the audience is smarter than the executives, right? And so I got to find middle ground of accepting that people don't know all this stuff while also not, debasing them and assuming they're intelligent enough to catch up. There's got to be a middle ground.
That is an excellent call out. You write it smarter than it's going to come out, so that when they dumb it down, it ends up at a spot. I hadn't thought about that.
That's exactly a strategy. People use that strategy. People actually use that strategy as writers.
I mean, this probably does happen, Dildo. I know you're joking, but I'm sure that does happen.
No, you have to. You learn that the hard way. You learn it through the process of all these idiotic notes of people. Like Alex gave thoughtful notes, right? You have people who literally there's jokes all through the chat right out of the dumb notes that they could give. And
sure.
What's hilarious is the chat is not wrong, right? I'll give you an example of the kind of reactions you deal with from people in Hollywood. So the very first movie that I saw, he's put all these beautiful women up there to drive me insane, right? The very first movie I sold to a movie studio back in 2003, when this idea came to me, was the love story of the Taj Mahal. Lady B, I don't know if you and I ever talked about it, but there's that great romantic story.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Buried in the Taj, right? It's a tomb. Yeah. There's a woman buried in it, right? And it's a story of how the prince and princess loved each other, and he lost her, and he went crazy, and he built the Taj for her, right? And I wrote that as a huge English language epic set in Mughal India, like Gladiator. And Warner Brothers Pictures bought the script. That was my first sale. First time I got in the trades, all of that, right? And it still hasn't been made yet. And I'll tell you why. It sits there now 20 years, and every year some producer comes and says, that's one of the best scripts I've ever read. Let's resurrect it, right? And it still hasn't been made yet. Because I remember one of my first meetings that I had, it was a general meeting. It wasn't like with Warner Brothers on this, but my agent was like, hey, meet these people. This kid just sold the Taj Mahal script. He's getting big. Right? So I met the person's just like, oh yeah, Taj Mahal. Yeah, I heard about that. I read about that. The trades. That's the Mafia movie. I'm like, the Mafia movie? He's like, yeah, the one that's set in the Taj Mahal casino to Trump. And I was like, no, it's about the building in India. And he's like, what? He never heard of the Taj Mahal. So this is what you never heard of the Taj Mahal. And this is what you're dealing with. This is like, I'm gonna get notes from this person.
Right. I mean, no one can give you notes, Cameron. Like you have created so many amazing stories in your life.
People can give you notes. You have to, as a writer, you must take notes because otherwise you're just writing for yourself. And that's wonderful if you are author. And if you're a self-published author, then you don't have to listen to anybody. But even I published,
even then you need notes.
Yeah, even that we need somebody
if you're smart, you hire an editor, you hire someone to give you notes.
Correct. But on movies, there's no way out of it. It's not even a collaborative effort. There is no way to get a movie made unless you're Robert Rodriguez and you film it all yourself with 40 pesos out of your pocket, right? And this ain't going to be a 40 peso movie where I'm holding the boom and the camera at the same time. That's not going to happen. So in order to make this movie, I must go through a gauntlet of hundreds and eventually thousands of people that are going to want their point of view in there. And of those people, the vast majority of them will contradict each other. So you're going to go one step forward, and then you get a contradictory note, and you have to then you have to address that. Then the next person doesn't like that, and you go back to the previous one. This is the process. So any of you want to be professional writers, you have to be able to take feedback. You can defend yourself, which is what I did here in the video. I was like, these are the choices I made. That gave Alex context. He's like, oh, okay, that's what you wanted to do. Well, I didn't know that. And as a viewer, I wouldn't know that. So if that's the case, and there are other people, Alex, that might go, that's not believable, this Tiffany problem, right?
Right.
Then you got to make sure you want to do it. You can still do it, but cover the Tiffany problem, right? And that's all. You can still do it that way, but just make sure the whole is covered for 99% of the people, and then the asshole you're never going to satisfy.
Right. They're not going to go see your movie anyways.
Yeah. Well, they will. They will just be the asshole.
Well, who cares? That's like
Yeah.
it's a Jack Sparrow problem. It's like
Yeah, exactly. I'll take your money,
worst
asshole.
pirate I've ever heard of, but at least you have heard of me. It's like you hate my crap. Great, I still got your money. What's the difference if you liked it or hated it? Like you're still talking about it.
Yeah.
I think that there's two sides to it too with the female lead. I think that you are picking a difficult time culturally just because.
Yeah.
Not that that's correct. I'm not saying that. I'm not defending that point of
you're
view.
saying
I'm saying
environment.
you're right, and so that's all I'm saying. And so, but I also think at the same time, people are more willing to accept those strong female characters because culturally, also on the other side, we have women's MMA. We have like it's female athletics, women's basketball. All these things are now taking off. So we accept that women can do these things and that women can kick ass. It's just you have to be able to pick the person who people can buy doing that right away. And that's, I think the casting is kind of a challenge for that. And because you're not going to, I think it's as much as it's a challenge as it's something people can push through if the story is good and the casting is right and your story obviously is going to be good. And I think that you can do it. It's worth that fight. I'm impressed that you're picking that fight.
Well, what I think is interesting is that we have no problem when the Latina leads are the sex pot. They're
None at all.
objectified to a certain degree.
Like
Which,
the pictures are all looking at right now.
Which,
yeah.
hey, I am not against. However, when we have a different kind of role that's not typical for them, a lot of people throw their hands up in the air and do the woke jerk. It's like, what's it going to be? We're trying to, we are trying to write original characters. If you look at the project selection of Jenna Ortega and all the interesting films that she's doing, I think that's a good model as compared to the horrible films that Rachel Ziegler's been a part of. So I'd much rather go with that route of Jenna's project anything but again, it is kind of a strange time where anything that is like kind of resembles something that's progressive or woke, people are pointing fingers, and it's like, yeah, give it a chance.
And you know what, too? I feel like with horror, it's a lot more like people aren't going to immediately see, oh, female protagonist, I'm not interested with it.
Right.
There's a lot more with horror.
Yeah.
Well, somebody mentioned The Heretic. I haven't seen this film yet, but I've heard a lot of reviews of it. The reason I've heard a lot of it is that Hollywood people, like my atheist screenwriter friends who are hostile to religion, have said a lot about it on screenwriter boards. And a lot of them are like sympathizing with like the bad guy because he seems to be anti-religion. That's my understanding of the film from all the reviews I'm reading, right? And seems to be anti-missionary and all that. And he's like the bad guy of the movie, right? But it's interesting because I'm not hearing the feedback that you would then expect. Did people think because the hero or the villain is torturing these girls or scaring them because they're religious? But I would have thought that people would have responded and said, this is a Hollywood's example of them trying to mock religion, right? And trying to mock these poor innocent Mormon girls or whatever who want to spread their faith. But I didn't hear that. People didn't presume that the critique of religion that the bad guy has was the actual message of the movie. They assume he's the bad guy, so that he's not, his critique is unfair. And that is what annoyed my Hollywood atheist friends. They wanted his critique to be the good guys of the story.
Yeah, the Rorschach problem.
Jacob, hey, you're late.
Somebody else?
What's going on, man?
Sorry.
Nonsense.
Saw your, nothing much. Just saw your message there, so I jumped on.
A wizard is never late.
Never late. So, Cameron, what would be the next step for you with this film? Like, now that the script is done, I'm a dummy. So, how does it move forward? Yeah, very true.
There's two angles. Like this recent win at the film festival is of actual practical use to my.
Of course, it is.
Because they're like now getting on the phone, or will so in the new year, because pretty much everything shuts down on Friday of this week, right? I mean, this everyone's off to vacation on Friday, right? But but early New Year, because they actually like this movie a lot. They just were afraid to do anything with it because of the events in the Middle East that started in October of last year, right? And so, or at least that event. I mean, the Middle East has been going on for quite some time. But people are like, the war began October 7th. No. It's been going on for a while here, okay? In any event.
3,000 and counting.
Yeah. in various stages, various characters in the story, right? These are the new characters. So it's they will be doing their thing, which is calling around and trying to wake people up to the fact that there is now external endorsement for the script. It's like, oh, there's other people that are willing, like a prestigious film festival is willing to give it affirmation, right? So why don't you guys take a read at this? Oh, okay. So that's on that angle. But then I'll let Paulie speak, because Paulie and I have been talking about doing this as a Latino slant production, and Paulie has massive contacts in Hollywood to Latino actors, actresses, to producers and directors. And we've begun the process of at least having some initial conversations with some actresses to at least see if we begin to move it. So Paulie, what do you want to share about that?
No, it's just everything has a different process. So in regards to making a movie or trying to see what avenues are there, it's really in the infancy stages. Meeting with different people, them reading the script, then meeting Kamran. Chelsea Rendon absolutely loves the script, absolutely loves Kamran. She brings a lot of heat and a lot of contacts, a lot. So so that avenue is very unconventional. Do we go for now a named director, or do we go for an independent director? So when you start going down these different routes, then the more studio mainstream you go, and it drives towards that, the less you're going to be part of it at the end of the day. So, but no, we're that's where we're basically at. And there's a couple of horror film, independent film directors that I need to connect Kamran to, and it's just that's just where it's at, guys.
And in movies, directors really have the power, unless you're a very powerful actor or actress. I mean, right now, the four most powerful people in Hollywood happen to be actors at this moment. They are the four blondes. They are Margot Robbie, Sydney Sweeney, and the two Ryans, Ryan Gosling and Ryan Reynolds. Those four can get anything greenlit right now. If you roll the trades, the only things you're seeing being bought are one of those four are attached in some fashion. Go to the trades. It's hilarious. Any movie, it's like Margot Robbie is producing. Sydney Sweeney is like an executive producer on this. They're the only ones that get anything made right now. It's like part of the whole thing is like, for all the talk of we want lots of blue hair, we got four attractive blonde people and they are in charge. That's where Hollywood is.
We've got two Canadians, one Aussie, right? And then Sydney Sweeney. So you're welcome. You're welcome, guys, for the Ryans.
I like white people right now. White people are the way to go. These four blondes. I like white people.
I think it's crazy that is. I've heard you say that before about the two Ryans and that, but it's true. I guess like that is where we're at.
Go to the trades. I mean, it's a running joke. Every time a movie's been announced in the last 3 months, I go to writer's board. People saying, there's Ryan Reynolds on it. There's Sydney Sweeney on it. There's only 4 names.
I think Jen Ortega is
Jen Ortega, but again, that's seen as sort of the exotic number 5, right? Those 4 are the 4 hot white people, and then you've got Jen Ortega and the exotics, the brownish exotics out there.
I imagine Michael B. Jordan might be on that list.
I'm sorry.
I was going to say I have to imagine Michael B. Jordan might still be selling stuff, but I can't be the only one that's noticed that Margot Robbie's record isn't that good.
Yeah.
Like with the exception of Barbie, she's hit about 20% in her last 10 projects.
But the only thing that matters is, you're only as good as your last movie, and her last movie is Barbie. Her next movie bombs won't help her. That's why she's got all these things in development that are not actually in production right now, because she is to make a mistake. She is, and look, she made aside from Barbie she was in 2 terrible movies before that. She was in Babylon, which I love Damon Chazelle, and I was like, what is this garbage? I was like, what the hell is this crap, right? And so she was in that, and then she was in that Amsterdam movie, which is also garbage, right? And then she comes with Barbie, and nobody remembers.
Okay, I just
you're
let
right.
The record reflect that the last 3 before Barbie was Asteroid City, Babylon,
but nobody cares.
Amsterdam.
Right now, she's riding Barbie. She's only as good as your last movie, and the last movie was Barbie.
But you would take non-traditional methods to get this film made. You don't. Would you independent?
Any movie is non-traditional, right? So and the great thing about horror genre is that it's 90% of it is non-traditional. Because there's a market. You can make a horror movie for a small budget through money you got from your uncle,
right?
And get it released on Shudder, and people watch it, and it's good.
Thanks, JT.
What do you think? What do you think Nadia would charge to put together the Ifrit costume?
Well, I don't know, but she's talented, right? Because for those who don't know, the Ifrit is sort of the monster of the movie, sort of the minion of the evil fallen angels, right? And so they're like the creatures underground.
Yeah, no, Nadia is incredible. I've some of the stuff that she's posted. I'm very much like, why are you here? Why aren't you back in Hollywood? And I get it. It's a brutal town, but no, she is every bit as talented as anybody I've seen.
Yeah, but is a great example.
What it is look, we've got Lady B also burned out of the industry, right? I'm always teetering on the edge of the industry, and I'm always like, and every time I want to quit, something happens that keeps me going, right? But there's a lot of talented people that just are done with it because it's so much bullshit.
Yeah,
it's overwhelming bullshit.
It's not a measure of talent, I don't think.
Yeah.
At some level it is, but it's also broadly not. And I think a lot of people given those opportunities, we know so many smart, talented people who have so many fantastic ideas that they're just, if you're not right place at the right time. And look at all the people who've lost their jobs, who've been shipped out, who actually are good at their jobs, but just don't have the right politics. Like things like that affect everyone.
Or what I really don't like about the industry is that you always have to be a hustler, and it's just you just run into some really super sleazy people, and
it's women I think have to endure that a lot more directly.
Oh yeah,
men, it's more like you're hanging out with a dude that could get you the money, but you don't want to know where he got the money from. You don't want to ask. No questions. It's like, can you go to that room with that dude that you don't want to know where you got the money from? And then that's the worst situation.
But I got to start wrapping this up, you guys. It's almost 2.5 hours. I appreciate all of you so much. Alex Whiteclose, what are you guys doing?
I got a season 3 trailer video coming up. I'm hoping tomorrow.
Ooh, nice.
Season 3 of.
Do you have Alex's? Do you have Alex's YouTube channel in the link? Can we put that in there because I want to follow him?
Oh yeah, it's in the description, but I will get it for you.
Oh, it's in the description box.
Yeah. So he and Lady B work together.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Lady B, what are you doing? What's up with you?
I'm getting through the holidays. I'm dealing with some kind of personal life stuff that's hopefully gonna have a good outcome, I hope. But I have to kind of get all my ducks in a row for next year and be ready to go when January rolls along. So hopefully I'll be making some stuff. But I'm just kind of making appearances here and there. So
I'm gonna put Alex's channel here in the chat too.
It's White Cloaks. It's White Cloaks.
It's White Cloaks. It's awesome channel. These guys went against some of the big money Hollywood people before it became cool, and that's kind of how I met them because they're fans of Wheel of Time series, the books, the Robert Jordan series, and they were not happy with the show to the point where they got kicked off Reddit, and anyone who joined their Reddit got kicked off of every other Wheel of Time Reddit, which I found out by joining this. Hey, what's up,
you
guys?
became blacklisted by the Wheel of Time readers?
Yeah, it's crazy the kind of people things dumb crap people do. It's so stupid. And
I made the mistake of googling my name on Reddit. You don't want to do that. Oh my god! There's a guy on Reddit that had saying terrible things about me, and I was like, really? I shouldn't have opened this door. There's entire Reddit threads dedicated to bringing me down, and I didn't know they existed. And I
really.
Yeah. So I just didn't know they existed. Now I know they exist. But wait, so Alex, were you because it was 2 years ago that I did something with Lady B?
Yeah, you was on that.
You were on. Remember we talked about because 10, 15 years ago I pitched to try to make.
We still talk about that, and we could have actually had a decent freaking show, and
but I wasn't famous enough for them, and then later it became I wasn't the right type of weirdo for them, and so
and now we have this absolute shit show, and
is this still going on or is it done?
Oh god.
We're on season 3. I don't think
coming out
it's
in March.
It looks awful, and
I mean, but the garbage Lord of the Rings show gets more attention than that. No one's even talking about it.
I feel like no one's even talking about Rings of Power that much anymore either. So.
Yeah, so I mean, but this is even less. Like, I didn't even know it was still on the air.
A lot of these shows they're just ignoring, right? I mean, Dune Prophecy, Rings.
Yep,
That's true. Wild. I know that Hollywood is you're going to have 9 bombs per one hit. And you got to hope that hit is $1 billion. But man, I cannot get over how much the streaming services put out trash.
Well, it's because these guys all, especially Amazon and Apple, these are just loss leaders to get you to buy other products.
You're right. I mean, it's we're looking at it as a creative process. To them, they don't give a shit about. They really don't care about whether it's good or not. It's just content.
I know that's crazy.
Yeah, and then to me, it will always be one of the greatest bizarre moments in history that 2 dudes with no credits were given $1 billion to make Lord of the Rings. They literally have no credits. Like if you go to their IMDb, the creators of Rings of Power, their first credit is executive producer of Rings of Power. It's like they don't have. There's no assistant to anybody. There's nothing. It's because
they were Abrams buddies,
Abrams proteges, whatever. But they never got anything sold.
No, they didn't do shit.
My writer's assistant has a more extensive IMDb list than they do. And they were like, here's $1 billion. Do you know anything about Lord of the Rings? Nah, but I got this complete idiot's guide to it. Is that good enough? Go, make it go.
They apparently take direction well, was what I heard.
Can I
was going to say something really vulgar, but I'm not going to.
Well, I'm going to give you just one bit of insight. One of the people at my dinner last night is a very, very successful showrunner, and he hangs out in the world of successful showrunners, right? And he just hates those guys because he worked 25 years to get to where he is. And he hates those guys because, they got $1 billion and don't know what they're doing. And it's not like they turned out to be prodigies. They really don't know what they're doing in 2 seasons into it, right? And so he's got lots of friends who are writers or were writers on that show because they pretty much fired their entire writing staff second season and wrote it all themselves because they're such geniuses in their minds, right? But he had a lot of people who knew the stuff. And he's just like, first season, he said, first season, people were like, the actors were like, all right, the script, I'm not getting it, but I'm sure these guys know what they're doing and it's going to make sense next season. So I'm going to go along with it, right? And then second season rolls around and they're reading the script. The actors are like, what is this crap? I don't get it. I'm fine. They're like, the emperor has no clothes. And they start complaining to the showrunners like, this isn't what Galadriel would do. This isn't, what's happening here? Don't you guys know the source material? And it reached a point where, just like Alex gave me feedback, and you actually have to take that feedback into account, even if you don't like it. So instead of taking that feedback, which a showrunner has to do, when the actors are saying, Elrond's not going to do this. Why is Elrond doing this? The arc makes no sense. Boss, what's happening here? I don't want to say the line. The correct way a showrunner handles that is you go talk to the actors, you listen to their concerns, you try to adjust some of it, and you make them feel secure in the character, right?
Mm-hmm.
The worst thing you can do is what they did, which is just read the fucking lines and then just walk off. Literally, that was like, just shut up and read the lines, asshole. That's literally was their answer to, and that's going to create real bad blood on the set real fast.
You're a handsome man.
Yeah,
well, you're very handsome, man. Congratulations to that. So, that show is a tragedy, what they've done. But they hired actors that you could probably bully into doing whatever you want for the most part because they're not.
But the thing is, after the first season, actors don't accept that. Second season, actors start asserting their power because they now have a fan base, and their fans are complaining to them that your character sucks, man, and they take that real personally.
Remember you telling me about Ian McShane and trying to massage him into doing what you needed him to do. So
that's very not easy. It was not easy.
Yeah.
He's a majestic actor, and I was nowhere near his level. And I was sent to Ian. I need you to say this line, but I can't tell you why you have to say this line because I can't reveal to you that one of the characters is going to die because of this line 3 episodes from now because the actor hasn't been told he's being killed off. So I've got to keep my mouth shut. But I need you to say the line, and I can't tell you why. And he's like, but darling, I don't want to say the line. It doesn't feel right to me. It's not authentic to the moment. I'm like, I really need you to, Ian. This is fucking Ian McShane, right? From Deadwood.
Oh yeah.
Ian, I need you to say the line. I need you to hold up this thing and say this line. But no, I'm not going to do it. I'm calling short. I'm like, he's not going to say the line. He's like, you're going to make him say the line. You go do it. I have to go deal with this other crisis. So finally, like, Ian, please, can we just do one take where you say the line? Please, just as a favor to me. I'm going to get fired. The boss is obsessed with it. You know, he's crazy. Just make him say, it's this dumb line. Just say it. All right, darling. I'll say the line. And he says the line. We're like, oh my God, we got one take. And we used it.
Lock it down. The games are great, Divina. Yes, Witcher games are great.
Games are great.
Yep.
So, Paulie, are you going live after this? What's going on?
No. This is it.
This is it.
This is it. Yeah, man. It's We're live Friday morning.
Yeah.
And then some of those very attractive women whose images we've just been watching should be on the panel.
We don't just have Latino women on the
Really? Is there anybody else on the panel?
No, not every week we do. I mean, it just looks like it. It's like, Pauline Cameron talking to Latin chicks.
Yeah, that's kind of like our Starsky and Hutch thing going on here. Yeah.
I'm sorry. What about the best channel on YouTube?
So yeah, live Friday, 10:30 a.m. Pacific with Cameron. This week we have 3 guests, so we're gonna have to crank.
Yeah,
but a lot of good topics, good insight. It's always insightful to talk to people who are actually putting their life 100% into this creative business. I think it's way too easy to talk shit about creative people when you really haven't dipped your I'm tired. Dip your toes into it, guys. Sorry, you guys know what I'm talking about.
You were gonna say don't dip your pen into the company ink, but you didn't do it.
No, and I'm only drinking Coke Zero. I don't.
We know, Paul.
I don't drink booze.
Yeah, so
love you guys.
But Paulie is doing late night stuff too, so I love it. I love Paulie's late night stuff because I'm up late anyway. So go check that out if you haven't. He's in the chat. You all know who he is already. Cameron, anything else to look up for you? You got your Patreon. The link is in the pinned comment.
Yeah, just best way to get in touch with me. Like I said, on the Patreon, you get these Hollywood analyses. Like I have an analysis of what's this trans situation that's happening.
We didn't even get there.
Yeah, we didn't even get there. But on my Patreon, if you want to read, I have an article out there that's talking about how various producers. Just last night I was talking about. They literally said that the industry is now okay with LGB and T is out. So that's an interesting development, right? That you don't want to be pitching no T. LGB is okay because and so I have articles about things like that. I have hopefully some insider perspective. Look, I mean, I'm not yet this famous, powerful guy in Hollywood, but I am in the game. And I've been in the game for 2 decades, and I'm still playing this game. And so I have the in the trenches, struggle, survival, working screenwriter perspectives on things. So especially if you want to be a working screenwriter or a novelist, which I am both, you can reach out to me through the Patreon for consulting stuff. And like I said, several of my consulting one of the people we're going to have on Friday morning is a consulting client of mine who's now won several festivals with a script that he consulted on and just got a movie release last week that Paulie was at the premiere for. I couldn't come, unfortunately, but we'll have him on. And then another friend of mine who actually went to college with came on the Patreon. I consulted for his novel that he was writing, his first ever novel, and he took my advice, and it is now an Amazon bestseller, his first novel, right?
Nice.
And so, so come there, you can get consulting work with me and might actually help you.
And I want to say too that it's a nice place to go because it's not an echo chamber, and so you can go in there, read the comments. You can make your own comments. A lot of Star Wars talk is in there, but it's nice because you have to challenge yourself because we get stuck in these echo chambers, and it's not like that in there. So you can go and you put out your opinion, you get a response. Cameron almost always personally responds to the comments and gives his bit of feedback. And like, where else do you get that? It's really cool place he's built, and so go check it out. And
we got a few hundred people, and they're very active, and they're sharing a variety of perspectives. Even on this article I did about how trans is out in Hollywood now. You can imagine 90% of the comments were like, "That's good, we're done with the woke stuff." But then someone who's actually a mentee of mine, who I've been working with, a brilliant horror writer director. She's LGBT, and she came in and gave a more impassioned perspective of why she thinks that's a loss for art, that the stories aren't being told. And not everyone agreed with that perspective, but it's welcome there. It's another point of view that's fair to share there.
Well, thank you so much, Cameron. Thank you so much, all of you guys. The chat, you've been fantastic. I'm sorry the memberships are broken. I'm not sure what's going on there, but that's disappointing, but it's going around. So there's the membership flu.
Right.
Yeah.
And thank you, Zach, for having me on. Thank you, Paulie. And then Alex, especially, I want to thank you for giving me, because it's not easy to always critique someone to their face, right? It's easier for people to be anonymous behind a keyboard and say what they want. And so it means a lot to me that you're able to be straightforward, to explain your perspectives. And I understand now where a lot of them are coming from. I may not be able to address all of them, but I need to address the underlying concerns that you've raised, because I think the script does work, but let's make sure that more people don't get those moments of concern that you've raised. And so I want to thank you for that.
Well,
you're muted.
Whoa. Muted.
Oh shit! Sorry, talking to nobody. No, just absolutely. Thanks for taking it well, and thanks for sharing the script in the first place. I know putting something out there that you worked on like that is not always easy.
Yeah, I really enjoyed reading it. So
I will finish it by next week.
Your wife loved it. You critiqued it. It's a fair balance.
That's a win-win.
Those are great notes, because those are great notes. I really appreciate it.
They're worthy of consideration, and they really are. So thank you for your time. And this is why Zach's is such a great channel, because everyone here has a good, clean heart. No one is here coming for the jugular for anybody. We're trying to advance. You make entertainment better. I think that's the purpose of this channel, and you consistently try to do that here.
Well, thank you. Great conversation, you guys. I really appreciate all of you, and Alex, for reading the script and feedback right away to me. So I will catch up. I will read it by next week. I promise. I'm looking
and you're either going to be Team Alex or you're going to be Team Balefire. So let's you up, Zach.
I know which team wins.
Pick a side.
I'm pretty sure I do too, and I'm pretty sure it's not mine. So.
Right, I'm pretty sure
the team
Alex
on the screen is the one that wins. So let's see. All right. God bless everyone. I should out too. Thank you so much.
One last thing for trans people on the way out the door. Let's go. Thanks, everybody.
Respect to the trans community. And fuck you, transphobes.
Trans people are my friends. Transphobes gon' catch these hands. Trans people are my friends. So respect them for we're going in. Trans people are my friends. Transphobes gon' catch these hands. Trans people are my friends. So respect them for we're going in. Transphobes, show your fucking out. I'll knock you out. I'll knock you out. Transphobes, show your fucking out. I'll knock you out. You better watch out. Trans people are my friends. Transphobes gon' catch these hands. Trans